Good morning, Unleashed Lund loyalists. Thanks for tuning in live each weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Remember, please like and subscribe and listen where you get your podcasts. Be on the lookout for Lund loyalists perks by joining the club. And if you really want your comments read during the show, you can use supers and stickers. Now, as close to on time as he gets, here's Johnny. It's a John Lund Unleashed emergency show.
911, what's your emergency?
Something big must have happened because Lund isn't getting off his ass for just any old breaking news. A big trade, free agent signing, or his family is just sick of hearing him talk sports all day.
Hell yeah!
Make sure you are subscribed at John Lund Unleashed Pod on YouTube and the podcast, or you might miss the news. Now, with whatever it is, here's Johnny. It's a John Lund Unleashed emergency show.
911, what's your emergency?
Something big must have happened because Lund isn't getting off his ass for just any old breaking news. A big trade, free agent signing, or his family is just sick of hearing him talk sports all day.
Hell yeah!
Make sure you are subscribed at John Lund Unleashed Pod on YouTube and the podcast, or you might miss the news. Now, with whatever it is, here's Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that twice. It's very important that you do it twice. Jimmy Butler and the Warriors. There it is. There's Landy Wiggins. We'll give you the exact trade itself. But I just want to get your reaction. We have got the comment section going right now. We're on YouTube. We are on Instagram. So welcome to everybody. Love to get your reaction. Jimmy Butler, this whole day has been insane. I got to tell you what the day has been like. But here's the deal. Welcome in. We'll go over the chalkboard in just a second. Chalkboard, whether it's nighttime or the daytime or emergency show. There's Pine Needle and Christopher and Jeff and Jake. And by the way, if you're listening or if you're watching, I should say, on Instagram or on X at John Lund Radio, slip on over to the YouTube channel. John Lund Unleashed. John Lund Unleashed. And then you can hang out and you can give us your thoughts. And you can use the board here and give us your comments because everybody's in the room and we all want to hang out. So it's cool that you're watching on Instagram and X, and I love it. Both at John Lund Radio there. But pop into the YouTube, and we will talk all about this. Hi, Nick J. Good to see you. Pine Needle. Bunch of people in the studio already. G. Martinez is here. Miguel is here. Jason, good to see you, my friend. So let's talk about it. Jimmy Butler's going to the Warriors on the chalkboard. I got a bunch of video and all sorts of fancy charts for you. Butler to the Warriors, crazy day. We'll go over that. Wiggins is part of the trade, but Warriors are going everywhere. So it's not just Andrew Wiggins. We'll tell you that. Multi-team, good Jimmy or bad Jimmy, signs an extension already. Ding, 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 ding. Who told you about that? Who told you? God, I wonder who that guy was that said Jimmy really isn't so worried about as much about winning a championship as Jimmy's worried about getting that money. And that's why he wouldn't ever go back to the Heat because they said, we're not giving you any more money. And he said, well, basically, until there's a team that's going to give me money, I'm not going to go play for anybody until I get an extension. Well, guess what? He got an extension. Guess why I didn't want to come to the Warriors 48 hours ago? Because the Warriors we're not giving you an extension. And he went, yeah, I don't want to go to Golden State. And then they said, okay, we give an extension. And he goes, I love Golden State. It's the greatest place ever. So I told you that ended up happening. Signs a $112 million extension. We'll get into the Golden State Warriors depth chart, which I have that as well. The Golden State Warriors in the West. What do you think? Was it the right move? I'm going to ask you that. And what do you think in the West? What do you think of the Jimmy Butler move just right off the top of your head? As we will keep you up to date on what's going on with the Warriors game, 58-56 at halftime. The Warriors lead the Jazz. But this is a more important story, clearly, that Jimmy Butler would be coming to the Warriors. So let's do this as we'll get you caught up on everything. But this is the day. This is how crazy today was. So we get ourselves to this point where Jimmy Butler's going to the Warriors when 48 hours ago he said he didn't want to come here. I'm telling you with 100% certainty, not 99.9, not 98, not 91, not 90, not 85, not 50-50. Jimmy Butler did not want to come to the Warriors because the Warriors didn't offer Jimmy Butler an extension first time around. Then all of a sudden they said, hey, how about 2-1-12? And he went, what? I love the Warriors. I think you're great. So the show this morning started with Kevin Durant saying no, or excuse me, that wasn't, it started here. This is where it started. Reunion. We thought this morning at 8 o'clock this morning, this is the show cover I used today. Reunion, because there was discussion from Shams Charania and others and Brian Windhorst this morning that Kevin Durant might want out of Phoenix and that Their owner said, maybe this isn't the right thing to do, and they couldn't move Bradley Beal, and they thought maybe we'll just do a rebuild ourselves. And Matt Ishbia is their owner, new owner, just been on the job about a year. And so that was this morning at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And then after that, I literally had a piece written, which I'd still publish, which is irrelevant fairly now, but at johnlundunleashed.com, where I keep the blog and all the podcasts and everything there. Everything is archived. Plus, I got a great blog that we write on every single day and do videos to match. So I thought, well, all right, well, it doesn't look like anybody's coming. It looks bad. The trade deadline's tomorrow. So I wrote this whole piece of, okay, Kevin Durant said no. Let's pivot. What do they do now? So then I put up another hard no, and that was this afternoon. Shams broke the news, no Kevin Durant. I wrote a whole piece about, is it going to be LeBron? Is it going to be still Jimmy Butler? Is it going to be what are they going to do here? They're in deep trouble. And then literally, and you can thank me if you like the Jimmy Butler trade, because right when I hit send and was about to put an adjacent video with the piece that I wrote at johnlundunleashed.com, the trade came down. Literally that moment I hit send, I looked over to my iPad and it said Jimmy Butler, the worst. And I went, oh my God, I got to write a whole new piece. I got to do a whole new show, but that's okay because I like hanging out with you. So let's decipher it. Crazy, crazy day, but there it is. If you just joined us, Jimmy Butler is going to the Warriors. Andrew Wiggins is part of the trade. Jimmy Butler has signed a $112 million extension. So there's the extension, if you didn't believe me, from Shams. I said 112, it's 121. Jimmy Butler has agreed to a new 2-year, $121 million extension with the franchise through 26-27. Sources me and Windy declining the 2025-6 season for this $121 million deal. So again, you're wondering to yourself, why is it that Jimmy Butler just 48 hours ago said he wasn't interested in coming to the West Coast, when 2 or 3 years ago he would have crawled to Golden State? Well, they gave him money. What do I tell you all the time? Even when it's not about money, it's about money. So it wasn't about Jimmy Butler going, God, I could go with Curry and Draymond, and I could be on a better title contender. He wanted to go to Phoenix. You know why he wanted to go to Phoenix? Because I made a call today and said, what was going on in Phoenix? And he said, Matt Ishbia, the Phoenix Suns owner, he was offering Butler an extension. They were trying to get the deal done. The problem with them was they couldn't get a deal done. He was getting the extension in Phoenix. That's why he was pounding the table. Not so much that he loves Kevin Durant over Steph Curry and Draymond Green. The Suns owner told him, yeah, we'll give you an extension. No problem. We got to get the deal done, but we'll give you an extension. The Warriors said, we got a deal done in place. We're not giving an extension 48 hours ago. And Jimmy Butler went, I want nothing to do with you. All of a sudden, the Warriors said, okay, fine. Because they got a deal in place. They got the deal in place. And then they finally said, all right, we'll give you the extension. So then he gets the extension. Now he loves Golden State. I told you months ago when he was acting like a jackass. And now I know everybody loves Jimmy Butler. So everyone's like, what? You calling Jimmy Butler, the Warriors, Jimmy Butler, a jackass? When he was on the Heat, you didn't care if I called him a jackass. But if he's on the Warriors, you care if I call him a jackass. But essentially what he said when I told you was going to happen is that Jimmy Butler wanted an extension more than he wanted a championship. Miami said no, an extension. Jimmy was a jerk over and over and over and over again until they were forced to trade him. He wanted to go to Phoenix because the Phoenix owner told him, hey, we'll give you an extension. We just got to work out a deal. Warriors worked out a deal, said we won't give you an extension. That's why 48 hours ago he wanted to go to Phoenix, because he had money in Phoenix waiting for him. But they couldn't get a deal done with Miami. So then the Warriors are like, fine. Durant said no. LeBron, I'm sure they looked into. I'm going to find out more. But LeBron, they probably looked into. They said no. And so here they are sitting there going, we're desperate. Jimmy's desperate. Fine. And they played a game of chicken. And Jimmy Butler said, I'll come to you if you give me an extension, but I won't if you won't. Because they're working out a deal in Phoenix, and we're seeing it. But here comes the clock, right? And it's ticking. And Miami clearly is not going to give him an extension. Not give him an extension. And he's seeing the sand come out of the hourglass. And so what ended up happening here was Jimmy Butler gets the extension, which is what he wants. The Warriors say, fine, we're up against it. We can't get Durant, who we really want. We can't get LeBron, who would be our second choice. I don't know if they spoke to Zion or if there was any other guys that were discussed, but finally they just said, fine, we'll give you the extension. And you say whatever you want about Joe Lacob. You can never call Joe Lacob cheap, because he paid Jimmy Butler on a 2-year deal that he didn't want to pay him, but he did. So Jimmy Butler's going to be around for a couple of years. So that's how everything went down. How did Jimmy Butler change his mind? The money did it. Not the Butler did it. The money did it. And I told you it was going to be the money that was going to make the move. And guess what? Jimmy's a Warrior. Why? Because of money, and they gave him an extension. So that's that part of it. All right, now the trade itself. What did they give up? That's what you want to know. What happened? What happened? What happened? Who did we give up? Complicated. So the Warriors get Jimmy Butler, give him the extension. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins and PJ Tucker and a protected first. That's not bad for a guy that leverage-wise, I thought he might get released. Lindy Waters is no longer a Warrior. He moves to the Pistons. Dennis Schroeder is probably going to be a buyout guy because the Jazz have the worst record in the Western Conference. And remember what Dennis Schroeder was saying about slavery yesterday? Well, you just went to Utah. So he's going to either be a buyout guy or the Jazz are going to move him. They're not going to stay long-term with Dennis Schroeder. And then I heard as I published this that Kyle Anderson, there was something weird going on with Slow-Mo. He's not going to stay with the Warriors, but he might get rerouted somewhere else, or maybe he does come back and it becomes a pick, or I don't know exactly how that's going. But essentially what they gave up then, because all this other stuff on the screen, you're like, whatever, in terms of where they went. So it's Jimmy Butler. They lose Andrew Wiggins, a protected first, Lindy Waters, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson. I mean, that's quite a bit of depth to your team. So all those guys are gone. That's the deal right there. So now you've got a full, the full equation on this thing. Butler goes, Wiggins goes, protected first goes, Waters goes, Schroeder goes, Anderson goes. So what do you think of that trade for Jimmy Butler? Give me your thoughts on that. Plus Jimmy Butler then gets a 2-year, $121 million extension because he wouldn't have come to the Warriors any other way. It wasn't, I'm chasing a championship. It wasn't, I love Steph. It wasn't, I love Draymond. It was, I'm chasing a championship, kind of, but if you would give me the extension, then I would really like that. All right, now let's start looking at the deal itself. Whatever, the finances, blah, blah, blah. We already know. Essentially, it's Wiggins and Butler as the principals. And then there's some guys that potentially, from a depth standpoint, you would lose and not love to lose, but you did. That's the way it goes. I want to show you two things here. Are they going to get good Jimmy or bad Jimmy would be the question I would ask. I don't think they're going to get the Jimmy. They're not going to get the Jimmy that was all pissed in Miami because, like I said, they made him happy by giving him the extension. So we're going to get happy Jimmy, not bad Jimmy. Happy Jimmy, not sad Jimmy. But in terms of the way he played this year before he turned into a child, Wiggins played 43 games. This is just this year, all right? Wiggins, 43 games, as you can see there. Butler, 25. Wiggins, a little bit more points per game. Butler a little bit better on the rebounding. Assist-wise, Butler's better passer, obviously. Steals the same, blocks, whatever. Field goal percentage, much better, Jimmy. Jimmy's going to play more, in the mid-range where that's not really what Wiggins. Wiggins more of a slasher than a three-point shooter. Butler is going to be more in the mid-range. Got a good mid-range game. Three-point percentage, a little bit less for Jimmy Butler. A little bit better on the free throws. My point in putting this up really is for this season. I'm not saying for their career because I'm going to pop up in a second 5 years. But for this season, Jimmy Butler's got to step his game up. And then after that, and this is really what the Warriors care about, he's got to become playoff Jimmy, which he's a dog. So I expect that. The reason why the Warriors made this trade for 35-year-old Jimmy Butler and gave him a 2-year extension, which most teams wouldn't, is they're desperate. Because Steph, and you saw this, Steph and Draymond over the last couple of days are like, hey, man, something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. And what they were facing, let me take this down for a second. So they're comparable players this year. Wiggins having a nice year. And then the 5-year, and I'll talk about something in just a second about the desperation of the Warriors. But so this is the last 5 years, and clearly Butler's better over the last 250, 300 games. So, 21 versus about 16, 17 points. Better rebounder, all these kind of things. So Butler over the last 5 years, better. Playoff Jimmy, better. Now 2022 Wiggins, who you getting? You getting 2022 Wiggins or playoff Jimmy? Or you getting this year's Jimmy Butler and he's on the decline at 35 and this year's Andrew Wiggins, which I wouldn't have given up all that. Even though Andrew Wiggins can sleepwalk through games and Jimmy Butler is fiery, this season, Andrew Wiggins has been just as good, if not a touch better. Over a 5-year period, Jimmy Butler's been better. So that's a 5-year look right there. There is just this year in which Wiggins is very comparable and even a little bit better than Jimmy Butler, I would say, at this point of their career, with Wiggins being 29 and Butler being 35, that Wiggins is probably the better defender as well. Butler is not a bad defender at 35. He's just not what he was. And if two-way Wiggs is really two-way Wiggs and playing the way he can play, Wiggins is probably a better defender at this point of their careers. But here's the difference. The Warriors want the guy that's going to be great in the playoffs. They don't really care as much about the regular season, although it would be really, really, really nice. And I think this deal could do that to get into the 6th spot so you're not a playing team. Jimmy's 35, Steph's an age 37 season. Older guys are going to get hurt. Older guys are going to take longer to recover, and that's what you're looking at when you get Jimmy Butler. I'm not against the trade because they had to do something. They wanted Kevin Durant, I guarantee you that. They looked into LeBron James, I guarantee you that. And when it came down to Jimmy Butler, like I said, 48 hours ago, Jimmy Butler wanted nothing to do with Northern California because the Warriors said, we've worked out a trade and we want you. You cool with that? And Jimmy Butler said, we're missing something here. And the Warriors went, what? What are we missing? What do you mean? What do you mean we're missing? What's missing? He goes, money. Money. That's why I want to come there. If you want to give me an extension, I'll play ball. We don't want to do that. So the Warriors then go back, look into Durant. Durant tells them, yeah, I'm not down. I'm not down with coming to Golden State. I don't want a reunion, whatever his case is. I'm sure people will speculate about Draymond Green, whatever. Durant would have been the better fit, but Durant didn't want to come to Golden State. They didn't want to revisit a LeBron thing, although I was told that there was a little bit of a discussion there. I wrote today, and if you go to 𝐿undunleashed.com, I have a piece on the blog, and I think LeBron would have been the better piece too. And I think he doesn't fit in LA now, and it's a long-term thing with Luka, and I think he's going to leave after the year, but whatever, that's water under the bridge at this point. But you can still read about it. And what I would have done for a deal with the Lakers and the Warriors and had an all-old man team, and you may agree or disagree with that. But I'm not saying that was on the table. I'm saying that was a thing. And then finally, the Warriors doubled back to Butler's camp and said, all right, man, we got nothing. Like, we're dead in the water. Because the other thing I wrote about before this trade went down with Butler, the other thing I wrote about at 𝐿undunleashed.com is they had 4 scenarios. They had the scenario, and this is after Durant said no. So they had a scenario with LeBron James. They had a scenario with Zion Williamson. They had go back and double back on all this stuff, and I put Jimmy Butler in there. So double back with Jimmy and others. And then my last scenario was not a trade of Steph Curry this right now, like at the deadline. It would have been in the offseason, and I explained how difficult and complicated that would have been. But if Steph had come to Joe Lacob after not making a move for anybody, couldn't get a deal done. Let's say Phoenix makes that deal, and instead of, and Miami didn't obviously like the Warriors deal better, but let's say that the Heat could have got that deal done. Well, here was the Heat problem. Let me double back to Phoenix for a second. The problem with Phoenix was Bradley Beal is only one of 2 players in the NBA with a no trade clause, full no trade. He and LeBron. So Bradley Beal wasn't playing ball. Had Bradley Beal not had a full trade clause, he'd have been in Miami, and Butler would have been in Phoenix, and the Warriors would have been like, Cam Johnson, anyone? Like, whatever. And that wouldn't improve them because Wiggins is better than Cam Johnson. So they got lucky in the regard that Bradley Beal said, nah, I'm not playing ball, because Bradley Beal had a full no trade clause. So that's how all this went down, and they got Jimmy Butler. What's done is done. Butler is a Warrior, and he gets a $121 million extension. So as we stay on the board there, Butler to Warriors, crazy day. Wiggins traded, multi-team. Are we going to get good Jimmy? Yes, because he got an extension. Signs the extension. I put 112, but it's 121. So that's where we are. That's how it went down. And the Warriors had to double back to the Heat and say, we've struck out in every other way. Joe Lacob is panicking. We are hours away from the trade deadline, which is tomorrow. And what do deadlines do? They spur action. Deadlines spur action. So they've got the deadline coming. They were kind of sitting back, seeing if they could get leverage with Jimmy or anybody else. And they went, look, man, this ain't happening. And as I always say, this wasn't Mike Dunleavy. This isn't, hey, Mike made a great move. This was Joe Lacob. This was Joe Lacob pushing the pedal to the metal, saying, because Mike Dunleavy can't say, hey, yeah, we'll give you a $121 million extension. That's Joe Lacob's money. Joe Lacob did this deal. Joe Lacob said it was fine to do an extension because that was the holdup. Butler wanted to go to Phoenix because there was an extension there. Bradley Beal said, not happening. Not happening. So then they had to pivot, and the Warriors pivoted, and they finally, with the last second, because they faced the thought of the offseason of saying, because this is where the leverage really came in. If they had made no move at the deadline, no move, and they're at 11, they're 11th in the West or whatever, they're out of the playoffs, or they're 10th and they play 9-10 and they get knocked out again. You know what Steph Curry is going to do in a very nice way? Hey, you know what? I'll be back in like 2 years to be Mr. All-Time Warrior. It's cool, man. I'll be CEO of the team, or I'll be president of the team, or I'll be something. But you got to let me go for now. So find a way from the marketing department, Find a way for the ticketing department to not everybody cancel. Find a way to spin this whole thing. I'll be really nice. We'll have a great press conference. We'll shake hands. It'll be great. I'll be back in 2 years. But for right now, as he said many times throughout this season, he's not down with playing with a mediocre team and a mediocre, not an organization, because the organization's not mediocre, just a mediocre team. He wants to win. So Steph Curry really, I think, backed him into a corner, and Joe Lacob owes him. Whether you think it's true or not, Steph Curry built Chase Center. Steph Curry is the main factor in this team in 2010 being purchased for $450 million and now being worth an NBA high $1.9 billion. I mean, that's just it. That's the bottom line, is that's what they're worth. And Joe Lacob knew he owed Steph Curry. And so that $121 million, just put it on the pile of money that Joe Lacob has put into this team. But at some point, Joe Lacob or whomever is going to be around at that point that's connected to Joe Lacob is going to reap those rewards of all this money that Steph Curry has gotten back for this team. So while Joe Lacob was like, it's got to sign this extension. Yeah, fine. It's $121 million when Steph Curry took the value from $450 million to $1.9 billion. And Steph Curry probably texted and went, because Jimmy Butler was texting him going, dude, they won't give me an extension. I can't come there. I would if they would. I mean, that was probably done between Curry and Butler. Hey, dude, if they'd give me that extension, I'd be there. Steph Curry texted Joe Lacob and said, hey, bro, the value of this team? What percentage is that going up? I don't know. Somebody do the math on $450 million versus $1.9 billion. What's that, about 4.2? About 2.5 times, right? Am I right on that? Close? About 2.5 times? And a new arena? Hey, Joe, when I got here, the team was worth about $450 million. And now it's worth $1.9 billion. And you've got this shiny new place in San Francisco, and it's just going to keep going up, and you get to have concerts and all these great things, and you make money, and it's just, this thing's going to pump out money. You know who made that happen? Me! I made it happen. That's who. And so Steph Curry reminded Joe of that and said, if you throw out another $121 million on the pile, that would be really, really cool, because I've earned it. So do that, please. And Joe said, you're right. And Jimmy Butler's a Warrior. I mean, maybe it didn't happen exactly like that, but you're staying with me on that. That's essentially what happened. Is Steph reminded Joe Lacob of how much he's increased the value of this team, and that Chase Center is the place that Steph built. And he'd like it if you'd throw about another $100 million on the pile so that Jimmy Butler could come here, because Jimmy Butler's texting going, hey man, it's sounding like to me that both these teams, the Heat and the Warriors, have a deal. But the thing is that I want an extension and the Warriors won't give it to me. And if they would, I'd be your teammate. And Steph went, I'm down with that. And he went to Joe and he texted Joe, and Joe at first probably said no. And then he said, Joe, just so you know, if this team remains the same, I will ask you for a trade in the offseason in a very nice way, so that marketing and ticketing and all these different people and all these different things and all these people can spin it. But I am going to ask you for a trade. And he couldn't text back fast enough. Fine. I'll give him the extension. Fine. That's how it went down. I'm fly on the wall. I was there. Okay, I wasn't there, but you get the idea. There might be some, semantics that make things, exactly make a little different. But the general idea of what I just explained is exactly what happened. I can guarantee you that. So anyway, all right. So we had the season. Season-wise, Wiggins is actually a little better. Last 5 years, obviously Jimmy Butler's better, and they want playoff Jimmy. We went through the trade itself, very complicated. Warriors, Butler, Heat, Wiggins, PJ Tucker, protected one. That's a protected one from the Warriors. Lindy Waters is gone, Pistons. God, they spread all these Warriors all over the NBA. The Jazz get Dennis Schroeder, who was upset about being traded and actually compared it to slavery. He gets traded again. I'm sure he'll get bought out. He won't even go to Utah. He'll get bought out, and then he'll get and then sign with somebody else. It'll be like his 8th team or something of his career. So he's he's very pissed right now. He's going to play for 3 teams this year. He's going to play for actually technically 4, because he's going to go Brooklyn, here, Utah, where he won't stay. He'll get bought out by the worst team in the West, and then somebody will pick up Dennis Schroeder probably by tomorrow, I would imagine. And then Slow-Mo is gone. We don't have to hear that nickname anymore, which after a while did get annoying. So there you go. That's the trade itself. Look at that. Suck that in. Because I'm just thinking, if it's Wiggins for Butler, okay, we can have a conversation. But there's a lot in there. But let's just, for the sake of conversation, talk about Wiggins for just a second. He's had a tremendous season this year. had a lot of off-the-court problems. His dad, Mitchell Wiggins, had substance abuse problems and then passed away. So Wiggins, for the last couple of years, really since 22, when he was really, really good and was awesome in the finals and in the playoffs, but especially great against the Celtics. So I'm not going to just throw Andrew Wiggins aside, which at times during his tenure with the Warriors, I was like, whatever, trade Wiggins. And we said this the whole time. Wiggins was going to be at the center of any trade, no matter who it was, whether it be Durant, LeBron, Butler, anything, because he was the one, they could have done something with Zion. He made $36 million. So anything was going to center with Wiggins, and given the year that he's had, it's not like you're just throwing him away or throwing him into a deal. Wiggins has had a better year than Butler to this point, but the assumption for the Warriors is we're getting a motivated Jimmy. We're getting a happy Jimmy because we just gave him an extension. And eventually we're going to get playoff Jimmy, which is a big deal. And so let's see. So we've gone over all that kind of thing. We've gone over the trade. We've gone over the money. We've gone over the whys. We've gone over the crazy day. This is what I think is most interesting. Let me see. Did I add that whole thing? Well, let's do this. I can do this on the fly because I don't know that I put it in there. I put like 10 different things in there. But the depth chart of the Warriors then becomes, and this is interesting, losing all those guys. Jimmy Butler's in there. Obviously, Steph's in there. But 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜 is playing better. 𝐾𝐿 is going to come back. So my question to you, the Warriors fan, is as you look at the Western Conference, where does this Jimmy Butler trade put the Warriors to you in the Western Conference? So I said this morning, and I've said this over the last number of days, is as you look at what's going on as far as the NBA standings are concerned, you got Oklahoma City at a young team, but really good at the top. Houston's good. Memphis is good. All young teams that have done nothing in the playoffs. You get to Denver at number 4. Now you're talking about a team that's won a championship. The Lakers are now 10 games over 500, and they haven't even implemented Luka into everything. And I said this, just go to JohnLundUnleashed.com, and I talked about the fit. One of the reasons I thought LeBron could be traded to the Warriors was that the fit, especially long-term. Short-term, Luka and LeBron will make it work this year. If LeBron wants to stay long-term in LA, I don't think it's going to be great. And a 40-year-old LeBron with a 25-year-old Luka, what you want is, and I tell you this all the time, is you want players in their prime. So I thought the Lakers would look up at the Warriors and say, look up the coast of the Warriors and say, if LeBron goes to the Warriors and I get back Wiggins, which is going to make it fit, and Kuminga, who's going to make it fit, and a Moody and some picks, all of a sudden I've got a bunch of guys around the same age and even a little bit younger than Luka Doncic, and now you can grow together and you can get continuity, and the Lakers are going to win a lot of games. Now, I know you don't want to hear that, and that trade didn't happen, but my point is that 40-year-old LeBron, ball dominant, 25-year-old Luka Doncic, ball dominant, both alphas. Both are a little bit allergic to defense for different reasons. Luka just isn't interested, and LeBron is 40 and gets put on the weakest player a lot of times on the opposition. So neither really want to play defense, and on offense, they want to be ball dominant. So it's not great, and then they don't match from an age standpoint because Luka's going to want guys around his age to grow with. They don't have any of those, and they don't have a way to get those kind of players. And if they moved LeBron to the Warriors, they could have gotten Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins and Moses Moody and some picks, and all of a sudden it's like the Lakers are set. So to me, the other good thing that comes out of the Jimmy Butler trade is they don't trade for LeBron. Not that I don't think LeBron is good anymore. He's doing things that 40-year-olds in the history of the NBA have never, ever, ever done. So I get it if you don't like him off the court and the king stuff like I always talk about. But to me, that would have been a really good trade, but you would have had to have given up a lot and a lot of young players. And while you might have been in the short term better than the Lakers long term, the Lakers would have had, I'm not going to say a dynasty, but a lot of good young players that could have grown with Luka Doncic. And now it's a mismatch on the court, offense and defense, and one guy's 25 and one guy's 40. So that's an interesting one to me. As far as the Warriors go, I just want to know what you think. Young players, young teams at the top of the West. The reason I got stuck on that kind of that thing about the Lakers is now all of a sudden you're looking at 3 young teams at the top, Denver at 4, and Lakers at 5. 6 is the Clippers, and I still am scratching my head. Norman Powell's having a great year. Harden's playing well. I don't know if they can maintain where they are in the 6th. This is where I start targeting if I'm the Warriors. Okay, the Lakers, short term, long term are going to be a lot better. Short term, are they going to be able to fit LeBron and Luka and one ball into that whole thing? I'm not so sure. 6, I can't believe the Clippers are going to keep doing this. And then you start going 7 through 10. Minnesota, Julius Randle is hurt. Now I start targeting teams because of Jimmy Butler. Are they up with the Clippers? Absolutely. Are they? They should be the 6th seed at least. They should be out of the play-in. To be completely honest, now they should be out of the play-in. Phoenix is a mess. They can't get anything done because of Bradley Beal's no trade. Minnesota's a mess and just lost Julius Randle. Sacramento, they didn't get better. Sorry for my Kings friends. Moving De'Aaron Fox might be addition by subtraction. Zach LaVine's having a nice year, but it's just a mismatch like the Kings always are. They're always kind of mismatched. And so now that I look at the West, I think, okay, they could get themselves out of the play-in. Let's look at all the scenarios now. And then I'll get out to what people are thinking about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler gets traded to the Warriors if you're just joining us, and we're doing an emergency version of it. But now you start looking at where the Warriors sit in the West. They've got a real opportunity to get to 5 or 6 because it's going to take a minute for the Lakers. And I still don't know. And I saw what Ty Lue said today. He said, well, people saying that there's only one ball, they don't get it. And you know what? I may not get it. But I'm saying that Luka and LeBron are both ball-dominant players. Ball-dominant. And neither are great shooters off the ball. Luka's not an off-the-ball shooter. LeBron's not an off-the-ball shooter. They're both scorers with the ball in their hand, and they make decisions to what? Kick the shooters. Well, LeBron's not going to be a shooter, and Luka's not going to be a shooter, and neither guy is all that interested in defense, as I said, for different reasons. So it's not a great fit on the court. And like I said, if I was the Lakers, I would have seriously considered looking at a trade for LeBron where I could bring in 3 or 4 young players that are solid that I could put around Luka, and over the next 10 years, I'd be really, really good. And the Warriors kind of fit that description with guys like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, and Wiggins is not that old. He's 29. They could have gotten, maybe Podziemski. I don't know. I don't think they would have rated him for everybody, but like 3 of those guys plus a couple picks long-term would have been better for the Lakers, but that's not what they're going to do. That's done. So can you catch the Lakers at 5? Maybe. Can you catch the Clippers at 6? I think you're more talented than them. That doesn't mean you're going to catch them. It means you're more talented. Doesn't mean you're going to top them, but but honestly, let's be honest, you should. And then Phoenix, they can't get anything done. Bradley Beal is clogging that team. He's basically saying, I'm not moving. I am not moving. It's like, you're going through a tunnel and there's a car stuck, and it's like, sorry, nobody's getting by. Bradley Beal's just like, nobody's getting by. Sorry. They should have and could have had Jimmy Butler, but they don't. So if you like the trade, thank Bradley Beal the next time you see him. So Phoenix isn't going to be able to get anything major done. As I told you, Minnesota's got injuries. So Sacramento's going to have to figure it out. I don't love the LaVine for Fox trade in the short term. So that's everybody that's ahead of him. Now, the other thing too, like we said this the other day, where did Fox go? Went to San Antonio. They're going to be better. And I won't be shocked if San Antonio tries to make a move for a veteran tomorrow and tries to shore up their lot even a little bit more. So as we're looking up, going, who can we catch? Don't forget San Antonio's right on your butt, and they just got De'Aaron Fox. So it's still going to be challenging. But just a first thought on this whole thing, without having seen Butler play with Draymond or play with Steph, first thought on this whole thing is I think they can move up. There's no doubt about it. And Butler is not a ball-dominant player. Butler is gonna come in here and be good Jimmy, like I said, because they gave him 121 million reasons to be good Jimmy and not be cranky Jimmy like he was in Miami with no extension. So Jimmy's going to come in and he's going to be good Jimmy. One of my questions always with Jimmy Butler was he runs hot, Draymond runs hot, and will Jimmy Butler come in? Because it was Jimmy Butler's team. It was Jimmy Butler's deal in Miami, even though Bam Adebayo was there and they had other guys. Tyler Hero was really good. Jimmy Butler was the leader. Jimmy Butler's not the leader here, and this is not Jimmy Butler's team. We know that. There are certain guys who have come in here and had a problem with it. Durant was cool for a while, but then Durant's like, man, I don't like that this is Steph's team, and I'm not really getting the credit for championships. That's why, by the way, Durant didn't come back. Durant, okay, they win a title. It's still going to be Steph's title, not Durant's title. I know that crap shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. Who cares whose title? Who cares whose team? Just win, right? Just get more championships. You're at the point in your career, Kevin Durant, where it's just about legacy. It's just about how many you're going to win. You're a first ballot, no doubt, Hall of Famer, and maybe the best scorer the NBA has ever seen. Just the versatility that he has at his size is unbelievable. But he cares about all the extracurricular things that don't matter. So one of the reasons it's not that KD doesn't like Draymond. That they had that fight. They already buried it. I've heard people say that today. That's squashed. It's been squashed for a long time. And he doesn't have anything against Steph Curry. And I don't think he's pissed off at Steve Kerr, even though people say maybe he is. I don't think that's what it was. I just think he goes back, and if they win a title later in his career, it's like it's still not his, and it's still Steph's team. And he was angry when he left, so he didn't want to come back to that. I think Jimmy Butler, knowing that he got the extension, isn't going to care whose team it is, isn't going to care anything about all those kind of things, team dynamics. I think he'll be fine because he just wants to win and he runs hot. But I will tell you this. If you don't think over the next couple of years with this extension that Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green aren't going to get into a tiff or 2 or 5, I think you're wrong because they're both hot. They run hot, but they both want to win. And then Steph is Steph. He's not going to fight with him. But this thing will run hot at points. I don't think there's any question about it. To think that kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. You didn't need to hear that, but I don't think it's going to be kumbaya all the time. I think that Draymond and Jimmy Butler could look at each other one time and just not like the way that the other's looking. And it could be an issue. So believe me, there could be a chemistry thing here. Let me play some of this stuff. I got some videos down here. I've been yapping so much. Let me do this before I play videos because I promised. And by the way, thank you for joining the emergency show. Jimmy Butler, as you can see on the screen there, has been traded to your Golden State Warriors. Crazy day that started with KD saying no thanks. Wiggins, the main part of the trade, multi-team. Good Jimmy, no doubt, because as I told you at least weeks ago, if not months, that Jimmy would be happy, Jimmy, the minute he got an extension. This deal wouldn't have happened without happy Jimmy's extension, which, as I just explained to you, Steph Curry saying, hey, I heard there's a deal. If he gets an extension, I just made your team gobs of money over these last 10, 15 years. You can take another sliver and give it to Jimmy. There's enough. Let's do it. And they did. And Jimmy's a warrior. All right, before I play some fun video and all those kind of things to impress you, let's see what's going on and what people think of the Jimmy Butler trade to the Warriors. Let's see. Yeah, I know. I sang. I was stupid. I know. Sometimes it happens, and then I'm like, that was like on the first note, I knew it was stupid, but I couldn't I had to finish it. 79-77. The Jazz lead the Golden State Warriors with 4:17 left in the third quarter. This is much more fun. What are you gonna do? Watch Lauri Markkanen or something? Man, come on. Let's see here. How about KD to the Spurs? Oh man, I just want to vomit, but you're probably not wrong. A lot of young players. If I'm Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, and I see what the Warriors just did, I can't just sit around. I mean, that's a good point. KD to the Spurs. I could see Beal wanting to go to the Spurs, but no, Beal's got a really untradeable contract. That's going to be really hard. I don't know. Washington was thinking giving him a full no trade clause. KD to the Spurs, not a bad. I could see that because he respects Greg Popovich a great deal. Ooh, that's a really good question. Where does KD get his number retired? Oklahoma City, here. Where else? Not Phoenix, not Brooklyn. Yeah, he's going to get his number retired here. I think Joe Lacob's already said it. When you win 2 championships here and help him win 2, and you're the MVP of both, and then if he stays healthy during the third one against Toronto, I don't care what Toronto did or what Kawhi says or what Kawhi laughs, they get that one too in his 3 years here, and then he probably still leaves. But yeah, Durant, when he was here, was ridiculous. KD to Spurs, that's really insane. I thought of that because I was so focused on this whole thing. Yeah, Durant's a weird guy. I mean, I don't know what he wants. Some people are weird. We all have friends like that. They just are never happy, and Durant's never happy. And the reason why, this is speculation on my part, but I think it's pretty accurate. It's an informed opinion, I think, which is Kevin Durant is one of those people that just never wants to be happy, never knows when he's happy. You ever do that in life where you're like, man, I was really happy at that point. What was I thinking screwing that up? And it just happens. And you go, I probably shouldn't have screwed that up. I was actually happy and I didn't even realize it. Kevin Durant could have went down in history and will go down in history. But I mean, in terms of how many championships the Warriors could have won if he would have just stayed and realized, but he went off to Brooklyn. That was so weird. And they didn't do anything. Now he's off to Phoenix and Bradley Beal's clogging up the whole deal there by, Phoenix was just stupid making the trade for Beal. Guy's got a no trade. He's not LeBron. LeBron's the only one with a no trade. And Beal's going, sorry, not going to do it. It's like, bro. So he's screwing that whole thing up. And if I was Durant, I would not be happy. But the whole reason that what I'm saying is that the reason why Durant's not a Warrior, it has nothing to do with basketball. He likes Draymond Green fine. He likes Steph Curry, of course. I think he could absolutely be fine with Steve Kerr. I know Steve Kerr a little bit. And if you don't like Steve Kerr, that's a you problem. That's just what it is. And Kevin Durant's weird that way. So if you don't like Steve Kerr, that's a you problem. And that's a Durant problem. And so he would come here if it was just basketball, but all these other weird things going on in Kevin Durant's mind like, oh, I can't be seen as Steph's guy, and I can't. It's like, dude, do you want to win or no? I mean, do you just want to win championships and play basketball? Because the irony of Kevin Durant is he's constantly saying, man, I just want to ball. I just want to play basketball. It's like, well, that's not how it works. There's all this stuff that goes around basketball. And the reason you're getting paid is because people care and people do social media and people watch and people say things, and you're thin-skinned and you get angry and you get mad and you care about things that don't matter. Because if you just cared about winning basketball games and playing basketball and you ignore the rest, which a lot of guys in professional sports and who are entertainers and in the spotlight do, they ignore it. They really do. Some people say they do and they don't. But they're mainly young people. And then as people get older, they just go, whatever. You know, I am who I am. Like, I've gotten older in my life, and I don't care as much about what people think. I do about what the people in this room think because you're friends of mine. But in terms of the people who don't know me, I don't care. I don't care what you think. I just don't have time for it. I got too many things to do. I got too much on my mind. I got a family and blah, blah, blah. Like, everybody's got a million things. Like, you at some point in your life, and I don't remember when it was, but Durant's far past the age where it happened with me, where I just said, I don't care. I don't care what people are saying. I don't care what, you become confident in yourself and you realize what makes you happy is the people around you, and people who don't know you and want to speculate and all those kind of things and take shots at you. It's pure jealousy. Like, we're all jealous that we're not 7 feet hoopers who make $1 gazillion like Kevin Durant. Like, we generally are. And so it's like, anybody who says anything bad against you, dude, there's really nothing to be said. And so, like, he'll get into it with somebody with like 5 followers and an egg instead of a profile picture on Twitter/X. Like, and you're like, dude, why would you even care what anybody thinks? It's weird. So anyway, he's not a word because because all the other things around basketball for a guy who says, all I want to do is play basketball. That's the ultimate irony for Kevin Durant. Man, I just want to hoop, but then he's worried about everything but hoop. And he's still so good at it, it really doesn't matter. This is a great point. Poor Raven Ritter, Warriors PR guy. Yeah, look, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, that's going to be interesting, man. And Steve Kerr is going to have to do a hell of a coaching job because, look, if Jimmy's good, let's bottom line this trade. If Jimmy's good, Jimmy, this is a great trade for the Warriors for what they want to accomplish. Joe Lacob put more money into the franchise. Steph Curry is going to stay. If they didn't make a move at this deadline, I think he would have asked for a trade. They were scrambling. They were desperate. You can never say, because Joe's going to run this thing into the ground, you can never say that Joe Lacob didn't want to win. And so when they're losing after all these guys leave here in a few years, and you're going, damn Warriors. Well, you know what? He went after it. He got Jimmy Butler. He got Kevin Durant at one point. He stayed with Steph Curry. He stayed with Draymond Green, even though there were many times that he shouldn't have, even recently that he shouldn't have, and he did. So you can't say anything bad about Joe Lacob. And I've always said this about owners, man. If you drive that thing into the ground because you're hell-bent on getting championships, respect. It's the teams who have the owners that are like, let's keep the turnstile moving for 10 years and let's just get in the playoffs and let's not make any aggressive moves because we don't want to piss off our fan base. Let's just keep the train rolling and keep those turnstiles a turning. And that's not the way. You're supposed to win a championship. You're supposed to go balls out for championships. Now, it always doesn't work that way, and we're all into this illusion that all these owners, they're just hell-bent on winning a championship. They're not. And Joe Lacob just showed you, as he has again and again and again and again, that he's into it for the championship. So when this thing goes downhill, and as I always talk about, throw the ball up in the air and then gravity takes over, at some point, gravity's going to take over. But Joe Lacob just, I think, bought himself a little bit more time in the air. So nice move by Joe. And I think Jimmy's going to be good, Jimmy, and I think this is going to be a good trade, if you want my thought on it. What do you think? Hi, Joseph. Good to see you. Solid. Yeah, most Golden State Warrior fans diss their great owner too much. I wouldn't disagree. Joe's gotten a lot of credit through the years, but I think people kind of get upset. You know, Joe hasn't done this, Joe hasn't done that, Joe light years and all the things that he said. But the reality is, all you can ask for as a fan, in my opinion, is that they're trying to win. Owners, just because I've done this so long and I'm skeptical about it, there are owners, and I've told you this if you're a regular listener of the show, regular viewer of the show, I've talked to owners point blank who have gone on the record, who have gone to my show and said this to me. That's, I own 50 businesses. This is one. And I went, what? Like, yeah, I own 50 businesses. This is one of my businesses. I've had numerous owners tell me that. I've had numerous owners tell me that in public on my show, where the fan base is like, do you realize what you just said? Because again, when we first get into sports and start getting into sports, And this is more of a, yeah, when you're young, you think all these business people are smart, and you get older and you go, God, what a dope. How did he ascend to CEO or something? But these owners, you assume all the owners want to win. I know the Dodgers want to win as much as you hate them, and I know the Chiefs want to win as much as you hate them, and I know that Joe Lacob wants to win, and there is a handful. Mark Cuban wants to win more than anything, but he doesn't own the Mavericks anymore, so 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 gone. He owns 27%. So he doesn't own the majority, so 𝐬𝐿𝐾𝐿 is gone. But there's a number of owners who want to win. And then you look at other teams in major markets who just don't. Like the Ricketts family in Chicago owns the Cubs, who have gobs and gobs of money, and they could do what the Dodgers are doing. Their owner's cheap, and they act like the A's. I know what you're thinking. The Giants can be the same way. I question the Giants all the time of whether they're trying to turn turnstiles or actually win at a really high level, because they're not going balls out. Because if you go balls out, you at least go up to that number that the Giants could. And I don't want to make this about the Giants, but you see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? There are owners that honestly will tell you without telling you, I don't want to win. I'm not burning to win. This is really cool, and all my rich friends can come here, and we can sit in the box, and this is fun, and I love it. And by the way, I own Team X and this, that, and the other. But it's a business to me, and the turnstile's got to turn, and we got to make money. Now, if we can't make money and win, I'm not interested. Whereas Joe Lacob says, all right. Now, Joe Lacob's not going to stupidly throw money at everything, but this is a ballsy move for a guy who's sitting in 10th place right now. And last year was in 10th place, and the year before that was in 6th place in the West before they won a championship. Since 2022, it was awesome, but since then it's just gone. And so he just said, all right, I'll go for it, because I owe Steph Curry, and I believe they do. And when people say, do they owe Steph Curry? I said, well, when your team used to be worth $450 million and it's now worth $1.9 billion, and the main guy who made that happen is Steph Curry, then yeah, you do owe him. That's how I see it. And this is a part of the way that he can repay the debt, is to say, okay, I just gave Jimmy Butler $121 million, or he doesn't come here. So just keep that in mind. And fan base, keep that in mind when you're yelling and screaming and saying we're not very good. And are they guaranteed to be great because of Jimmy Butler? No. But they tried. And that's, again, intent for me is a lot of things. I have a lot of friends and family who sometimes don't say the right thing, a lot of times don't say the right thing, and I don't say the right thing back. But what I try to do as I get older is I try to say to myself, what's the intent? Is it coming from the heart? Then I'm cool with it. Like if it's coming from a malicious place, it pisses me off. If it comes from a place of they really care, but they just don't really know how to how to kind of say it or convey it, then I just go, okay, I get it. I know people like that who are completely out of line a lot of times in what they say, but I understand and I know it's from the heart. Well, in Joe Lacob's case, he's busting ass. Joe Lacob can't go out and make, shoot threes, hit free throws, play defense, block shots, do all those guys. He can't do any of that. So everything that he can do as an owner of the Golden State Warriors, he has done for the most part. And I've said this before, picking two and getting, James Wiseman instead of LaMelo Ball, or, picking Kuminga at 7 instead of Franz Wagner, like those kind of things. Those are mistakes that the organization has made, and you can take a shot at that. But you can never say that Joe Lacob didn't want to win. You could never say that Joe Lacob didn't show you his heart and say that I want to win. And if I had to have what percentage of owners want to win at that level, a burning desire to win, and what percentage don't, I'd probably say it's less than 50% that are burning to win. Just I'll put in all the resources. What do you need, man? You need more scouting dollars. You need this. You need that. You need me to go up against the cap. You need me to all that kind of stuff. There's less than 50% of owners that want to do that. I can tell you as a fact. It might even be less than 4. It might be like a third, maybe. It might even be 25%. Because a lot of them, like I said, this is a business I own like the other 50 businesses I own. And Joe Lacob today just said, look, I want to win. Nathan, what's going on, man? It's Jimmy time. I was afraid of this trade idea, but I feel like a kid on Christmas. Let's do this. I think that's how everybody kind of feels, right? It's like, wait a minute, we're trading for that guy, that poisonous guy on the Heat that was late to games and that acted like a child. And, and I told you this, like I said, a month, 6 weeks ago, whatever it was, is that I saw right through the act. I said, he doesn't want to win a championship. He wants to get an extension. And whoever offers him an extension and they can work out a trade with that team, that's where he's going to go. So he said to the Warriors 48 hours ago, hey, the Warriors said to him, hey, we got a trade worked out. You want to come? And Jimmy said, you got an extension worked out? And the Warriors said, no, but we have a trade worked out. And Jimmy went, no, I'm not interested. And then he was beating down the door for Phoenix because, you know what Phoenix told him? Hey, Jimmy, we have an extension waiting for you. All you got to do is sign it. Cool, I'm good. Let's go. We can't get a deal done. So Phoenix had an extension, couldn't get a deal done. The Warriors had a deal done, couldn't get an extension. And Jimmy Butler said last year of his contract, I'm not coming there without an extension. And so as the situation dwindled, as Kevin Durant said no thanks in return for weird reasons, I'm sure, as they looked in on LeBron James, but something couldn't be worked out, as they potentially, I don't know if they got deep at all on Zion Williamson, but maybe I looked at Zion today, and I know this didn't happen, but just for the heck of it, because we have talked about Zion Williamson a lot on this show at the age of 24. I got to look back at the piece that I wrote today. And all you got to do is go to johnlundunleashed.com. But he's played in 46% of the games for the Pelicans since he's been in the league. 46%. I thought it was like 60 or 70%. He missed one entire season. 2 seasons the NBA played 72 games. I think off the top of my head, because I have this number in the piece that I wrote, and I could just pop it up, I guess, but I'm too lazy. He's played in 198 of like 410 games. It's something like that. It's like 198. I think it's 198 of 410 is the number I came up with today, which is 46%. And so I was pounding the table a little bit going, man, you got a 24-year-old kid. You're going to get him in shape. You're going to get him to put the fork down. He's 284 pounds, by the way, which is the 3rd heaviest player in the league. The only guys that are heavier than Zion Williamson, Nurkic with the Suns, and the kid that just the center from Purdue that's on Memphis. His name is slipping my mind. The guy that looks like Frankenstein. He weighs 305. He's 7'4", 305. And Nurkic who'd never come to the Warriors, is 290. And then there's Zion Williamson at 284 pounds on a 6'6" frame. Both of those guys, it's 7'4" and 7 foot, so they can stretch the girth out a little bit. So, look, I'm not saying that Zion isn't going to reach it someday, but I don't think he's going to reach it in New Orleans. You know, we've had George on for the Super Bowl, and he'll be on tomorrow with another setup from the Super Bowl. So we'll get that. He was awesome today. By the way, if you missed that, just go back. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, and I've posted Jess George's segment of about 15 minutes, Walking Radio Row today in the Super Bowl. My kid, he's working down there at ASU. It was awesome. It was just a really cool thing. But I mean, Zion Williamson's eating like muffalettas and red beans and rice and beignets and jambalaya, and it's like, bro. Like, we got to get a nutritionist for you. We got to fix this thing out. He's 284, and he's missed 54% of the games that he's played in the league. And so the Warriors looked into, I would imagine, I don't have anything on this, but I'm sure they looked into Zion and they went, wait a minute. We're going to take this massive swing on a 24-year-old who has ridiculous talent. Ridiculous. I mean, he's like a Tasmanian devil inside. He's a highlight Sports Center dunker coming down the court. I mean, he's 24 years old. He's got tons of upside. But then they looked at he's played in 46% of his games. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2019, and he's played in 46% of his games. I just don't think they could stomach that. And they probably wanted Butler more, but I think they did. After Butler said, no go unless I get an extension, then Joe went, okay, what do we got? And they reconvened, and they went, okay, let's see what's going on with Durant. Nope. Okay, no go. Oh, God. We're 24 hours away from the trade deadline. What do we do? What about LeBron? Nah, they said they wanted to keep LeBron, and they wanted to keep the double L's. They wanted to keep Luka and LeBron together, at least for the rest of this season. Oh, damn. All right, what are we going to do? And then they went back and they looked at some of these other guys. There were minor moves that wouldn't have moved the needle much. And I'm sure Steph's representation went, look, Joe, we love you and we want to be a Warrior. We'll come back in 2 years. But if you don't get a deal done here at the deadline, you know how many times Steph has said, I don't want to be in a mediocre basketball team this year. He doesn't. He's not going to do that. He doesn't want to be 10th and 11th place. He wants to come back to the organization in 2 or 3 years. He'll be CEO, president, whatever the case may be, whatever opportunities are there. He's going to be a high up kind of a guy. He's not going to be a coach. But, you know, Steph's going to be elite. He's going to be royalty. He'll come back. He'll always be a Warrior. But right now, this offseason, we need to trade Steph Curry. And Joe's like, oh, my God, no. So no Zion, no trade, no Durant. And he decided, okay. And my only other option here is I can get a deal done, but I got to give Jimmy Butler $121 million. And that's what happened. 48 hours ago, they had a deal worked out, didn't have the money. Now they get everything, and Jimmy Butler's a Warrior. And that's how everything went down. So let me play a couple of things for you because these are fun. Did you see this? This is going viral around the league. This is just how the league works now with the way that social media is. So guy's sitting courtside at the Heat game tonight, and he breaks the news. Well, he didn't break the news because that's Shams. So I'll play that for you in a second. But to me, this is more interesting. Here's this dude sitting courtside at the Heat game, right behind the Heat bench, going, "Hey man, Jimmy Butler was traded." And they all turn around like, "What?" And he tells them the news. Check this out. This is at a Heat game tonight.
And Andrew Wiggins.
Okay.
We robbed them. First round pick, protected.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up right now and bring you to
No, they didn't give out the year. No.
Wait, are you kidding?
Kevin Butler's like, Kevin Butler. Kevin
And Andrew Wiggins.
Look at Kevin Love right there.
We robbed them. First round pick, protected.
All right, there you go. Yeah, they did give him a first round pick too. But Kevin Love turns around like, "What? What's the trade? What happened? Where's Jimmy Butler going?" Like, how amazing is that? If you just joined us here, let me put the trade up on the board too, just because I can tell you it's just Wiggins for Butler, and we can talk all about it. But I mean, look at this thing. Because the guy's trying to explain it to him, and it's like, bro, you're not getting all those players. So Butler Warriors, Wiggins, Tucker, protected one that comes from the Warriors, goes to the Heat. Lindy Waters, the Warriors lose. Dennis Schroeder, who was just saying yesterday the NBA is slavery because you get traded and all these things. And so he's going to Utah, but not really going to Utah because he may have to I think that technically you have to step foot in Utah and do some and have a physical or something like that, and then you can leave. He's never going to play for the Jazz. He's going to get bought out, so he's going to go to another team. What's that going to be, his fourth team technically this year? So there you go. So but look at all those teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 team trade in which Butler goes to the Warriors and they give up Wiggins, a protected one, Lindy Waters, Dennis Schroeder, and Kyle Anderson. So I don't know if that changes your opinion on the trade at all. It doesn't change mine. I'm basically looking at it as it's Wiggins for Butler. And Wiggins is having a better year, but I think Butler is going to be a motivated guy. That's where I think it goes. Here is the actual report from Shams, if you're interested in that, on ESPN.
To go to Golden State and reunite with the Warriors. So today, in quick order, the Warriors and the Miami Heat, this is an agreement in principle. They are acquiring Jimmy Butler in a trade. Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick going to Miami. So after a almost 2-month-long saga between the Heat and Jimmy Butler, he is now out. He's going to a Western Conference home, a hopeful contender. He's going to join Stephen Curry, Draymond Green. They've been looking all year for a star player to join those two in that Warriors rotation and lineup. They have aspirations for a championship. They want Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, to be a big part of it.
All right, so that's what Shams said. Let me take this down for just a second, just because what I'm doing is I'm looking for that clip I had a little bit earlier. Let me just mess with this for a second. Let me find something here because I do have. Oh, there. You know what? No, that's the old depth chart for the Warriors. I got a depth chart for the Warriors that I put up, but then I don't know that I downloaded it for the show. So let me take 1 second here because I do believe I have a depth chart that will show you visually, which makes things easier for me and for you because we like to look at pretty pictures of the depth chart of what the Warriors will be looking like. Maybe I don't have it. I thought I had it I thought I downloaded it and then you and I could have some fun with it. I'm pretty sure. Let me look one more place. And if I don't, then it's no big deal and we can continue our conversation. It's not critical that we do this, but I like to see visuals. It makes it a lot easier when you're trying to decide whether you like this move or not. So let me just look one more time. I could have sworn I did put this in there so that we could have a visual of what the depth chart now looks like for the Warriors. So one more quick look. If not, then that's not a big deal. But I thought it would help, but I guess not. All right. Nope. Let me see real quick. Shams. This story on Tyreek Hill's crazy too, but no. Debo wearing a Philly jersey. That was just because of AJ Brown today. Don't get all worked up. He's not going to Philly. All right. I do not have that depth chart. This is what I had the other day. So that's look at how much they gave up there. So no two starters. Schroeder and Wiggins are gone. They did keep Moody. I thought maybe Moody's agent would be like, hey man, can you get to a team where he could actually play? Kyle Anderson, he's out, and Lindy Waters, he's out. So, and then you could add in there Jimmy Butler. So starting lineup of what? Curry, Wiggins is out. So obviously Curry's going to be in there. Draymond's going to be in there. Trace Jackson Davis is going to be in there. Add Butler, maybe add Podziemski back into the starting lineup, something like that. Healed, yeah, probably Healed to be in the starting lineup. I'm not a huge Healed guy. I wish they could have gotten rid of him somehow, but they didn't. So that's what it looks like from this standpoint. Now, this is kind of funny, too. So here's Jimmy Butler, and you got to start following Jimmy Butler now on social media now that he's a Warrior. But check this out. This is Jimmy Butler when he heard the news, and this is on his Twitter/X page, and this is the song that he chose, Wild West.
A lot of people gonna wind up dead. Anything goes at the end of the road. Ain't nobody about to slow me down. No, 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 no. Ooh, welcome to the Wild Wild West. Yeah, my boots might rattle, but the snakes ain't got.
There you go. There's old Jimmy Butler. That was a little loud, wasn't it? But anyway, that was Jimmy Butler's reaction to coming to the Warriors. I'm sure he's happy. Dude, he got $121 million. I'm sure he wants to win, but he didn't need the money, but he wouldn't come without it. So let's recap. Jimmy Butler comes to the Warriors. Butler to the Warriors, as you see on the chalkboard there to the right. Crazy day. KD started it out by saying, no thanks. Wiggins part of the trade, multi-team. I just showed you that. Question for a lot of people is, will we see good Jimmy? Yes, because they gave him $121 million reasons to be good. Golden State depth chart. I was just looking for that, but I will pop that up at some point. I gave you the old one, but that one's way too old. That's like a day old. What are you talking about? Golden State in the West. I'd love to get your opinion. I'm going to pop out the comments right now. And by the way, you can not only give me the comments now, but after the show, give me a bunch of comments. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Make sure that you're subscribed there. Also, you give us likes for the algorithm. And if you have and this is a perfect example why, if you have your alerts on the YouTube channel, John Lund Unleashed, then you will know when we do a show like this, which is an emergency show to tell you, or to at least analyze. You probably got it from Shams or some device that you were holding. You probably got it that Jimmy Butler was getting traded to the Warriors, but then you're like, well, let's go talk about it somewhere. And that's what I'm here for. So anyway, that's where we are as far as that goes. Golden State in the West. And the bottom line to this, and this is your question. The last two are actually questions to you. So Golden State in the West, I kind of went through that. What do you think? I think they could probably elevate up to like a 5. I think clearly, just from a record point this season, I don't care who they traded for, Oklahoma City, Houston, Memphis, Denver, they're going to be ahead of the Warriors. After that, Lakers are on a hot streak right now, no question about it. Lakers are there, but I think they're on a par even when Luka starts playing, because that's going to be an interesting fit and it's going to take a while. Ball-dominant players are going to take longer for the team to – not saying that the Lakers wouldn't be a team you'd want to play in the playoffs or something, but Luka and LeBron being so ball-dominant that they're going to have to figure it out, and that might take a minute. They might go through a streak before they pump back up. I've always said this about the Clippers all season. Give Norman Powell a ton of credit. And James Harden, who I'm not the biggest fan of, they're playing great. They play hard under Ty Lue, and they're sitting in the 6th. From a talent standpoint, you'd go, why? How are they doing that? And then, like I said, 7 through 11 or 12, and I put San Antonio in there and obviously the Warriors. But I don't think Phoenix is going to be able to make a move. Minnesota just lost Julius Randle, and they weren't playing great anyway. Sacramento just made that trade, and they lost De'Aaron Fox. That doesn't make them better for Zach LaVine. So you start throwing all those teams in there, and you say, you know what? The Warriors are better than play-in teams should be at this point, and they're probably up there fighting with the Lakers and the Clippers for that 6, and that's where you want to be. 7 through 10, you're playing in. Obviously, 11, you're out. 6 is where the Warriors have to aspire to be. And then the last team I mentioned was San Antonio, who I'm not convinced is done at the trade deadline. I think San Antonio getting De'Aaron Fox is a big thing, as he's making his debut tonight. And then De'Aaron Fox, and if I'm Greg Popovich and I'm the Spurs, somebody mentioned before, Kevin Durant wants to go somewhere and make him, and then if I'm Phoenix and I'm trying to reset my team, then all right, San Antonio's got a nice bunch of nice young pieces. And I'm not saying Wembanyama, but I'm saying if your big three, a big three of Butler, Draymond, and Curry is not bad, and that's probably as good as they could have done at this point. But if San Antonio countered that, trading some of their young talent and ones, and Phoenix would bite for Durant, and you were Wembanyama, Durant, and Fox as your big three, that's good. So that's an interesting one. All right. I played all my fancy videos for you. What else do we got? Let's hit it. And again, these questions are for you. The bottom 2 on the screen there on the chalkboard, they're for you. Golden State in the Western Conference. Golden State in the West, where are they in your mind now? And we haven't seen Jimmy play, so I'm asking you the question before I've given you the test. I hate that. When people ask you, well, what do you think of this? And it's like, well, you're asking me to speculate on something, Lund, that I haven't even seen. Like, I don't know how Jimmy Butler's going to do. Can you give me a minute? No, I cannot. Where do you think the Warriors are going to be in the West with Jimmy Butler now? And is this the right move in your opinion? Because it's complicated. And as I wrote on 𝐿undUnleashed.com, if they don't make this Butler move, and at the time I was saying maybe a LeBron move, but if they don't make a move to this level, Steph's going to ask for out. I mean, I really think that in the offseason that he was going to ask for out. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Look at that. See, and you are not too much. I don't think you're off because Hield and Lund for Vucevic, because a lot of people, they still need a stretch 5, and I don't disagree with you there. They need a stretch 5, and maybe the Warriors aren't done because, again, if I'm Steph, hey, dude, Jimmy, I'm texting Joe again, and that's a great point. Thanks too much. I'm texting 𝐬𝐝𝐫𝐞 again, and I'm saying, hey, bro, this is great and all, and I love you, and thanks for giving the extension, but Chicago still got a stretch 5 out there in Vucevic that we really like. I love Lund and everything, like you said, and I haven't looked at the trade machine for something like that. I was just trade machining my head off at 𝐿undUnleashed.com for LeBron and for Zion and things like that. But that's not a bad thought. Is if you're going all in, if you're going pedal to the metal and you're going to run this thing into the ground, which I have no problem with 𝐬𝐝𝐫𝐞 doing. He didn't move Kuminga or anything like that. Kuminga's still hurt, but that's not a bad thought. Is okay, this is a great move, but does it put you where you want to be? Because the Warriors aren't trying to get like 6th place and into the second round. That's not where this organization is. This organization is we win championships or it's a crummy season or we didn't accomplish anything. And I still look at this and I go, do they beat these teams? I don't know. The one thing about that would give the Warriors hope is Oklahoma City's never done anything in the playoffs. Houston's never done it with this current group. Oklahoma City, this group hasn't done anything in the playoffs. Houston hasn't. Memphis hasn't. Denver has, sitting at 4. The Lakers with Luka and LeBron, those guys have done stuff in the postseason. James Harden always lets any team down in the postseason he's on. So I don't think the Clippers are going to be anything. So that's kind of the thing that I look at is I say, okay, there's a bunch of young teams at the top. Playoff Jimmy is a thing. Playoff Steph Curry and playoff Draymond Green are a thing. So believe me, those teams would look at this team as currently constructed, at least from an intimidation standpoint, and say, I don't want to play that team. Because remember, Jimmy Butler, when he was on the Heat, who's the only team in the play-in era to go to the NBA Finals? That would be Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, which they did a couple of years ago. So that too much, you bring up a great point, which is they may not be done, and they probably shouldn't be done, to be honest. They wouldn't have to be. Yeah, there you go. You got the lineup up there. Curry, Butler, Kuminga, Green, Vucevic would be interesting. Yeah, for Vucevic again, the only issue would be he's making like $20-something million. So you just gave up that big contract of Wiggins, which was the one that you had to start all conversations with in trying to get a star player, and now you've got to figure out what. Now maybe, and you brought this up a little bit before. Peyton makes about $9 million off the top of my head. Looney makes about $9 million off the top of my head. So there's your deal. And they probably got to have a pick or something. Like I said, if I'm a team, I'm looking at Moody. Like if I make that move and I say Peyton, Looney, a pick, whatever, and you can match Vucevic's number, I gotta have a young player too. I just gave you, you're giving me a couple of pieces that I really don't necessarily want. Peyton's 32, Looney's what, 27, 28, 29, looks like he's 50, but he's not, still, you wouldn't call him a young player, a building block young player. So you'd have to me, okay, you want to give me a pick and everything, and that's fine, but I got to get a Moody or something, or a Pods, depending. And if I'm Moody's agent, I'm calling the Warriors right now going, we really appreciate that 3 and 39 that you gave in the offseason, but could you maybe get him to a team who would actually play him? That would be nice. Because you've heard me say this, and I sound like a broken record, and I apologize for it in advance, but Moody should be playing. And Moody is a good rotational player in the NBA. I believe it. And by them not playing him, I would just be driven nuts if I was Moody. I want to live up to the contract that you gave me, but I never get a chance. And then when guys are hurt and I get a chance, I play well. And then they come back, lesser players play more than me. Make it make sense. If I was Moody, that's what I'd be saying. I'd be like, make it make sense to me, please. Oh, you want to see people are that's the thing is I forget because I'm doing these 8 a.m. shows, and even though I have no problem drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning, I generally don't like to because I think you'll judge me just after I said I don't care what people think. But it is, what time is it? It's 8:17 at the nighttime, so of the PM. So yeah, I mean I could do that if people were into it. 104-100 Warriors over the Jazz. You can multitask. I got the TV going on in here. 104-100 the Warriors over the Jazz, and we'll let you know. The Suns aren't very happy right now. They're down to the Thunder 89-73. So 113-108 now for the Warriors over the Jazz. Maybe they start pulling away a little bit. Give me your thoughts. Again, the last two questions are for you, our Sweet Clean viewers. John Lund Unleashed, which is Golden State in the West now. As you look at the West standings, where do you think Golden State sits there? And then, is this the right move in your mind? Wiggins, the main part going back, but he lost other few pieces and a protected number one pick to bring in Jimmy Butler. I think it's a no-brainer. I think that if you're trying to maximize Steph Curry, which I've always thought is the goal because you owe him, he's not just any old player. The value of the team, all the things he's brought this organization to change it. I mean, talk about a culture changer. Steph Curry was your culture changer, and that's the hardest thing to do in sports. So, to me, it's the right move. They had to make it. Whether it's the right move or not, Joe Lacob had to make this move. Like I said, because Steph Curry was going to say, hey, man, I want out. So what are you going to do? You're going to trade Steph Curry or you're going to give Jimmy Butler $121 million? Pretty much a no-brainer, and that's why it works. Bill M., good to see you, man. Not sure what this does for the Warriors. Glad they didn't dump 𝐬𝐿. Yeah, they weren't given when these talks started with Jimmy Butler. They involved Jonathan Kuminga, but as he did more and more stunts to pull down his value and to lose the Heat leverage, if you go back to when this first happened, remember when Jimmy Butler requested a trade, and the very next day to maintain that leverage, Pat Riley, very smart, multi-time NBA champion, coach, and executive said, because he knows how the game is played, we're not trading Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's not going anywhere. We're not trading him. And he said that not because he believed it. He said it because he wanted to maintain the leverage. And then the more stupid stuff that Jimmy Butler did, the less his value became. And so, look, if I'm Miami, I'm ecstatic that I could get a guy the caliber of Wiggins. Now, I don't know how Wiggins is going to do down there and so forth. I would imagine he's going to do fairly well because Miami's not a hardcore sports town. And like a lot of towns in the country, they're not goo gaga over basketball. They're big into football. Obviously college football in Miami and pro football in Miami and football in Florida. High school football is massive. I'm not saying that they don't care about basketball, but Miami is one of those places, kind of like LA, where it's like, if we're good, we'll pay attention. If we're not, we're not. It's not like he's going to New York City or somewhere like that where it's just hardcore and they're going to get on you after every game if you struggle. And he needs more of an atmosphere like that puts your arm around you rather than yells at you. I mean, that's kind of what I think about Wiggins, and he's having a nice season because he seems personally to be in a good place. A lot of people in this world, and I'm like this, I actually like if I got chaos going on in my life, I love doing a show, like radio shows and all this stuff and being busy. I want to be busy if I have chaos because I can compartmentalize and get away from it. So I like it. I actually, when my dad was passing away or I was going through a divorce or whatever, I did some of the best stuff I ever did because that was the only time I could get a break and focus. And it was just good. I was passionate. I wanted to stay on the air. Hell, I didn't want to go off the air. Some people, when they have chaos going on in their life, they can't get it out of their head. And that's how Andrew Wiggins is. So I think that he's finally in a place with his personal life and family that he can feel good about things. And he was playing some good basketball. So I expect him, not that you care so much anymore, but I expect him to go to a place in Miami that doesn't have a hardcore fan base, doesn't have a hardcore media, and he can still relax, play down there. Nice weather, no state income tax. He just got himself a big raise today, 13.3% in California versus nothing in Florida. So he's going to be cool with it. I think he's going to be good down there. So Jimmy Butler better be good here because I think that he is going to be good there. But Bill M., a great point. They didn't dump 𝐬𝐿, which I guess in a roundabout way, that's the point I was trying to make there, and kind of went on a little bit of a tangent about Wiggins. But yeah, at the beginning of those talks, they were like Kuminga was on the table. And then the more that Butler acted up, it was like, the Warriors like, he ain't on the table now. Like, no way. And they put Wiggins on the table only because Butler plays the same position and they needed to match the salaries as a big part of the salaries. The reason why there were so many players involved, and I told you this a number of times we talked about Jimmy Butler, he's making $50 million this year. So you've got to match that salary within 25%, $100,000. Well, you look at Wiggins, he makes like 28. So that's a good number to start with. And then, I've showed you the trade 2 or 3 times. So if you're new, I'll just pop it up there one more time for you. If you're not, you're like, dude, you're killing me. No. There it is. So the reason why the Warriors had to put so many guys into it, even though it's a 5-team trade, Butler, but then you got to put in Wiggins, Waters, Schroeder, who's over $10 million, Kyle Anderson, who I think was at like 6 or 7. So you had to throw all these guys in because Butler makes a boatload of money. And even though they got distributed to different teams, you had to put all those players in there because you had to distribute all that money out. And the Heat are going, we don't want all those players. Tucker's a buyout guy, or I don't know. They're not going anywhere now, the Heat, but they only took on Wiggins, Tucker. Tucker's not making anything, and they could probably let him go, and a protected one. But it's probably the part that was so hard about the deal, other than Jimmy Butler agreeing to the extension part, which is what he wanted. But they had to get, who could take Waters, who could take Schroeder, who could take Anderson, those teams, who could take those guys. That's probably why it took so long, because they're like, well, we have to make the salary match, but the Heat don't want to take all those players. Hey, Heat, here's 5 players. They're like, no, like, let's figure this thing out. If we're going to make this trade and we're going to get Wiggins in a protected one, then we got to distribute all these other players to other teams, or we're not making the deal. So that's a pretty complicated trade when you have to involve 5 teams. And Jimmy Butler said no to it 48 hours ago because you didn't have an extension. And then not only do you got to give up all those guys now, and then you're giving up a one, now you got to give Jimmy an extension or the thing doesn't get done anyway. And Joe finally just went, fine. Jeez. Let's check it on this game, and then we'll pop back. And 114, 108. How much time? 347. 347 left. 117, 110, 347 left. Gonna look good. So they're going to get a nice trade done and probably win a game tonight. What else do we have? Oh, people are cocktailing at night. I like this. You know what? I might switch to this hour. People are cocktailing. I do have a bottle of Hanson's back there. I do have a nice bottle of 102 proof single malt whiskey right behind my head. I usually have a cup in here. No, I have a Niners cup. That's really, I don't know. That thing's probably dirty, but who cares, right? Who cares? You're drinking out of a dirty glass. What am I, some highbrow guy? Probably not. Highbrow. Ooh, I have to have a clean glass to drink whiskey out of. Come on, bro. Buddy Hield going off. I know Buddy's going off, so he's like, don't trade me, because you still got a trade deadline going on, right? I mean, there's a trade deadline, and he's going off. He's like, whoa, I don't want to be traded. We just got a good guy on our team. I don't want to be traded. Yeah, come on, man. Don't trade me. That's the perfect time to trade somebody, by the way. You go off, your leverage is high. You're like a stock trading you tomorrow. I've said that about Kuminga before. Kuminga had a game, I don't know, before he got hurt, obviously, months ago, and he scored like 34 or something. You remember that game? And he went off, and I came on the next day on the show, and I went, trade him immediately. Like, that's where it's a stock. It's like a stock market. You trade him, man. You see what he did last night? I'd call every team in the damn league and be like, hey, man. Steph's got 26. Yeah, there you go. Oh, look at Pods going off. Pods has 29. 8 of 17, 3 of 10, 10 of 13 from the line. 29 for Pods. Look at Pods going off here. Wow. Yeah, Buddy's not bad. 7 of 14, 4 of 8. One of those good Buddy nights for 18. Yeah, starters are rocking, especially the backcourt. Curry, Hield, and Pods just going off, man. 122, 111. It's over. Hey, if you're watching the game, welcome into the show, because the game's over. There's less than 3 minutes left, 122, 111 in Utah. And it's the Curry, Hield, and Pods show. Very nice. Very well done. Like you said, maybe they're not done. Maybe they're not done. Maybe, like Too Much said, maybe they're going to go get Vucevic too. I mean, if you're going to go in, go in. If you're going to go all in, hit pedal to the metal, just go in, man. See, a lot of people bring this guy's name up, Joseph Miles Turner. I'll look at some of these tonight too. By the way, I'm going to write a piece. I'll write a piece right afterwards, because I know we're yip-yapping a lot about Jimmy Butler, but I'll write a piece tonight on Butler too. I'll post that, and then I'll post that, and then I will put a video accompanying that. And then we're back tomorrow at 8 a.m., Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. right here on this Bat channel on YouTube. So John Lund Unleashed. And if you're watching on X, at John Lund Radio. If you're watching on Instagram, at John Lund Radio. So both of those places. Yeah, we could use a break for a minute here, because again, if you're getting off the game, I'll go through everything once again for those just getting done with the Warriors game, as it looks like they're going to beat the Jazz tonight. But let me do that. So does that mean you guys are hitting it? Does that mean you guys are out getting after it? It's a bourbon night. Yeah, I've told you this before. Hi, Steve. Good to see you. I've told people before that in the wintertime, it's a darker liquor for me. In the summertime, I'll do like, vodka and things like that, clear stuff. I like that kind of stuff. But in the winter, especially given the weather we've had lately, thank goodness it didn't rain finally today in the Bay Area if you were here. But man, I just like it just makes you go to the whiskeys and everything. And I'm a bourbon guy. I love old fashions, things like that. And so yeah, I enjoy that quite a bit. If you weren't with us this morning on the show, my son George is covering the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and he was on Media Row today and did a walk and talk that was outstanding. In fact, I was having some issues today, so I haven't posted it, but after the show today or tonight, I will post that. Just that part. Like the show was already posted at YouTube from today, and so you can watch it if you want to just kind of flip to the end. But yeah, he joined us and did a tremendous job for about 20 minutes of walking and talking on Radio Row. And like, here's Fred Warner over here, and here's Debo over here, and here's, talking about a bunch of different guys. And anyway, it was really cool. Probably worth your time. And so the reason I bring that up is, yeah, Todd says, hey, call him. Todd, I can tell you this. We've been texting. In fact, where's my phone at? We've been texting, and he is going to Patty O'Brien's tonight. And I will have a full report. He will have a full report with pictures and video tomorrow from, he won't be on Bourbon Street then unless he just stays there. But when he's on the show tomorrow, which they're a couple hours ahead of us, so he probably shouldn't be on Bourbon Street still, but I've done that before. And so he's going to join us at probably like 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And so at 8 o'clock tomorrow, he'll join us about 10 o'clock. No. He'll join us about an hour into the show. And he's going to do another walk and talk from Radio Row tomorrow, from Media Row in New Orleans at the Super Bowl. But he told me and promised me he would go to Patty O'Brien's tonight, try a hurricane, and get us some footage from Pat O'Brien's, because there's going to be, today's Wednesday night in the quarter at the Super Bowl. Tonight and tomorrow night, I told him, I go, Friday, go Bourbon Street on Friday. Don't go anywhere near Pat O'Brien's on Friday. Friday night, New Orleans, you'll be waiting in a line to get in there, but you have to go there at least once, right? So anyway, we'll check in. Right now, what is it, 10:30? He's not even started yet. Like, you don't even get one started on Bourbon Street until, I don't know, around midnight, right? Yeah, I mean, the hurricanes are dangerous, man. Just don't buy them on the street. Like, that's the whole thing, is people will go to New Orleans, walk Bourbon Street, and then they'll buy a hurricane that somebody's, like, they have a hurricane stand. And it's like, don't buy them at the stands. You have no idea what's in them. I know what's in them. Cheap booze. And you're going to have a hangover in the morning. Go to Patty O'Brien's. They kick you in the butt. They taste like fruit punch. And that's what I told him too. I go, dude, you can only have like one. He's not a big drinker. And I go, you just have like one. Well, I called that one a little too early, didn't I? 122, 119. A little too early. Let me see. Let me take a look at this. Yeesh. 124, 122. Minute left. I'm going to have to try to pay attention to this thing for a second. I told people that they welcome. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, then Jazz made a little bit of a run. Todd, I got in trouble, man. I got in trouble for saying that too soon. I had a big meeting last night. In fact, I was at the meeting at this time last night, and it's happening, but I can't say any more than that. I probably already just said too much again. You always goad me into that, and it's always your fault and never my fault. Just kidding. All right. Yeah, I'll get the bottle down. I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. And if you guys are having a drink, I'll have a drink with you. I know I should be a stickler for a clean cup. And if I thought my wife was listening or watching, but she's not, because there's no way, because like in the morning and at like 8 in the morning, she's getting ready or she's doing stuff. She works out of the house. She might listen every once in a while. I know I jinxed it. That's on me. If they lose tonight, you know what, Fosse, if they lose tonight, 100% on me. 100% on me. Seriously, I called it. Well, they were up like 10 with like 2.5 left. I was like, gonna lose this game. But you know what? I forgot. I mean, I know they have Curry and Hield's having a good game, and Podziemski's having the great game of his life offensively. But so I thought it was over. And now, oh geez. Oh, yeah, come on. Oh Lord, they're down by a point. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to burn this tape. I'm gonna have to burn this tape. I said it was over. I'm like, it's over. Hi, Spider. Like that. I like the avatar, bro. 127, 126. My God, you gotta be kidding me. It's on me. It's on me if they don't win. 10 seconds left. Let's see what happens here. Oh, I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna catch the grief, aren't I? Damn. I'm gonna catch the grief. I am going to have to take a shot just because I screw this thing up. If they lose this thing, my God. Let's see here. Hang on. You got to be kidding me. I called. It was like, what? They were up like 10. Or they were up like 8. They were up like 122, 114. So what, they scored 4 points? What, they outscored 13-4 down the stretch? Oh, man. You know what? No, it doesn't change my opinion in terms of whether if they lose to the worst team in the Western Conference just because they don't have Wiggins. I mean, they don't have Kuminga either, but I mean, they've won games without Kuminga down the stretch. Oh, Spider, good to see you, man. Luka, I've talked a lot about Luka. If you go to JohnLundUnleashed.com, you can go. I talked a lot about Luka. I think I'll just say it because you're here. It is my fault, Bill M, because I said it was over, and that's a jinx. And everybody knows in sports that if you do something like that, it is on you. That was 100% on me. Just to circle back to Luka for a second, Anthony Davis is a great player. He's a Hall of Fame player. It's no indictment on him, but when you trade a generational talent at 25 years old and you make the Lakers relevant on and off the court for the next 12 to 15 years, that's a bad trade. And the reason I know it's a bad trade because Mark Cuban, when he owned the Mavericks, and he owns 27%, when he was the majority owner of the Mavericks, never would have made that move. And they have a new group that don't own the 𝐿E'I'S'N family, and they're in Las Vegas. They don't step anywhere close to Dallas, and they're going to be irrelevant in Dallas, which we don't care about because football is everything unless you have a Luka or a Dirk, and they don't anymore. But the problem with the whole thing is that they just handed them Luka. They handed him a true number one. Not that Anthony Davis isn't great, but I'm saying on and off the court, there's a handful. And again, go to JohnLundUnleashed.com, and I have this on a blog and a video to match. And I wrote and showed you, like, there's about 5 or 6 of these guys in the league that are true alphas. Steph is one, LeBron is one, Durant is one, Luka's one. And Luka's 25. 25. And so, yeah, it's brutal. It's just a brutal trade long term. Short term, the Mavericks might be better this year. Short term, a long term, guys are going to want to play with Luka. They're going to be awesome for 10 or 12 years. They just made themselves relevant. We were looking at LeBron and we were counting it down. Everybody around the league, 3, 2, 1, yay! LeBron's out of the league. The Lakers are irrelevant. What just happened? Luka what? So, short term, I'm not saying the Mavericks are going to be bad, but these are bad organizations. Bad organizational decisions. And if you go through the annals of time and you look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 75 and you look at Wilt in 68, and you go back to all these, Charlotte trading Kobe for Vlade Divac, and you're going, what are you doing? And time after time after time, the success of the Lakers gets extended because other teams help them and they're stupid. And that's just exactly what Dallas did. They just gave a guy who's a clear number one of the most talented guys in the league every single year right now. It's either Jokic or Doncic or 𝐷𝐴NTHOMICUMPO. Those are the 3 best players in the game right now. And it's just a matter of time. I mean, Luka took a team in Dallas last year that had no business being near the NBA Finals, just like some of those teams LeBron dragged to the finals in Cleveland. And they got to the NBA Finals with Luka. And I know he doesn't play defense, and I know he has a Mahomes dad bod, and I know all these different things about him. I get it. But he's great despite all that. And here's the thing that scares the hell out of you. He's 25, has not reached his peak, is not in shape, is not focused defensively. He's going to go to the Lakers. He is already on the Lakers. He's going to play for the Lakers, and he's going to get in better shape. He's going to become a better player. He's going to become a smarter player, and he already knows the game really, really well. And he's going to rededicate himself because he's got a chip on his shoulder. Dallas didn't want me. They traded me. What? At 25, and then in five years from now, when Anthony Davis is out of the league and Luka's 30, hitting his prime, and the Lakers are in championship runs all the time, people are going to go, why did they do that? And it's like, yeah, I have foresight and I see the future. Why did you do that? We can say that right now. Why did you do that? Anyway, Lord, come on. They lose this game. It's on me. We'll reset everything. I know. They lost because I said, oh, this game's in the books. Let's go. And I said, welcome. I welcomed everybody to the show and said, welcome, everybody. Welcome after a Warriors win, blah, 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 blah. And then they started in, my typical fashion. They started to tank, and they're terrible. And so that's on me. You guys can blame me for that 110%. It's not on Steve Kerr. It's not on Steph Curry. It's certainly not on Podziemski. It's not on, it's not on Buddy. That one's me. I jinxed the whole damn thing. I have that kind of power. No, I don't. I don't have any kind of power. Are you kidding me? All right, let's reset everything. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. X and Instagram. It's at John Lund Radio. You can listen anytime, watch anytime. Apple, Spotify, we've got those podcasts as well. The whole ball of wax at johnlundunleashed.com. So we have archives of all the shows, all the YouTube shows, all the podcasts. I also write a blog as well. And you know what? I was dotting I's and crossing T's and hitting send. And all of a sudden it was about what the Warriors were going to do after Kevin Durant turned them down. And there's still relevant information in there. A lot of it actually that still has to do with the Warriors and is a good read nonetheless. So check that out. I will, right after the show today, update everything and say, okay, they lost out on those guys. They got Butler. Here's what I think. And you've heard what I've thought over the last, what are we on, an hour, about 90 minutes. So we've done about 90 minutes here. And so you've heard my thoughts on all that. But I'll put it in written form, and I'll snip it down, a little bit of a video of what we've talked about today, make it nice and easy for you. And I'd love if you checked it out at but just johnlundunleashed.com. And please make sure that you are subscribing to the channel on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed. Have your alerts on, please, so you can be alerted to shows like this, an emergency show in which Jimmy Butler gets traded to the Warriors. So that is why you have those on. And please because somehow something above my understanding that there is these algorithms, and it helps if you do a little thumbs up thing. So I guess that's what you're supposed to do. So thank you very much for that. All right, in advance. All right, what else do we have? Dude, I'm taking full responsibility. That's on me. I know now how they did John the explanation. Yeah, it's on me, man. I'm not denying that. You can't do what I did. I just got caught up in talking and laughing and hanging out with you guys. And then all of a sudden I looked over and I saw the score and I went, it's over. And then and I didn't turn the TV off or anything, but I wasn't focusing on everything. And let's be honest, Utah stinks. They should have never lost that game, even though I'll take full responsibility for it. I would agree. Yeah, exactly, Jacob. YouTube content creator, Jinx's team. Story at 11. Yeah, I know. And it's just like, that was stupid of me. Oh, well. They got Jimmy Butler. Aren't you excited about that? Come on, man. It's 1 for 2 ain't bad for a night like tonight. It's pretty good. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Fine. Enough people have asked me to grab the bottle. Hang on. Let me move this. It's an undertaking to do this, you know. No, it's not. Watch it. Hey, watch it. All right. You know what? I'll just use this. I'll use Battle of the Bay. That's a better cup anyway. It's dirty, though. It's been sitting up there a while. I'm pretty sure, though, that anything that Battle of the Bay is gonna be in the Battle of the Bay cup is gonna be killed by this whiskey. There you go. Well, Battle of the Bay for you. It's classic, isn't it? See, look at that. Yeah, very nice. All right. Tell me what we're toasting to. Jimmy Butler. My jinxing of the Warriors tonight. What are we doing? This is nice. There's still, it smells so good. This is a Hanson's of Sonoma, double barrel whiskey. Very nice. Little 100 proofer. Very nice. I like that. It's one of my favorites. I got a whole big whiskey collection, and I've told you this before. There's a tremendous steakhouse by my house. Good friend, the bartender is a good friend of mine, which is probably not a great thing to claim. But he is a great bartender and an awesome guy, and we do whiskey taste. We don't do whiskey tastings, but we do like whiskey stuff, and he tells me new stuff. But we're going to do a segment. We're going to do a segment on the show eventually where we we're going to a segment on the show where we eventually do a bar thing, and I think that's going to be really cool. So wouldn't you dig it if we sat there and we just we talked about different boozes and he made certain drinks, and I think that would be really, really cool. So why not? I think that's really good. Yeah, exactly. We're feeling good about Jimmy. You're not drinking alone. See, we're all together. This is the greatest thing about this whole thing. If you're drinking alone, we might be concerned for you. That's what they always say, right? Oh, no, drinking alone, that's a bad sign. But I don't feel like I'm drinking alone. I mean, I'm in a room alone, but right now I see 582 people watching on X alone and hundreds more watching on the YouTube. So, I mean, we're like 1,000 people in. So we're good. I mean, I don't feel like I'm drinking alone, and you're not drinking alone because there's like 1,000 people in here. So let's just, we're not drinking at all. I mean, we're drinking, but we're not, there's nothing to feel bad about it, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah, well, 100 proof, man. We're not messing around. Jeez, I can't believe it. Yeah, that's a brutal one. But you know what? We're in a good mood. Jimmy Butler, 131-28. They had that thing. Okay, before we do it, let's put you in a better mood. Here's what happened today. Did you see this?
Shams, how did this deal come together?
So throughout the last week, the Warriors had really focused their attention on Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant had indicated in league circles that he had no desire to go to Golden State and reunite with the Warriors.
Whatever.
So today, in quick order, the Warriors and the Miami Heat, this is an agreement in principle. They are acquiring Jimmy Butler in a trade. Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick going to Miami. So after a almost 2-month-long saga between the Heat and Jimmy Butler, he is now out. He's going to a Western Conference home, a hopeful contender. He's going to join.
Yeah, we know all that stuff. I got you. There you go. That is the official news. And the coolest thing I think that happened today was Miami Heat fan broke it to the Heat bench earlier tonight.
Wait, I'm gonna look at right now. Like, we're making tomorrow.
No, they didn't give out the ear. No.
Wait, are you kidding?
So anyway, that was pretty cool. Kevin loves that. How many year? What happened? Who are we getting? All this kind of stuff. The guy actually broke it to him in today's day and age. He didn't break the news. That was Shams. But a dude actually broke it to the Heat bench that was sitting behind the bench going, hey, bro, Jimmy's gone. This is who you're getting. And Kevin Love's like, what? Saw those guys back there. Tyler Hero's turning his head back there like, what's going on? 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐿𝐫𝐞 is turning his head back there going, what? It was wild. All right. Let's cheers to too bad for the loss, but Jimmy Butler is coming to the Bay, right? Cheers. Salute. Well, I got to do it this way. I got to do it with the Battle of the Bay there going. So salute to you. You're making me drink, but you know what? I did it to myself because I jinxed the game, and I feel terrible about it. So salute, and here's to you. Oh, let me see a little water here. That is good. I got to say that I am a massive, huge bourbon fan, and that right now is my favorite. So if you go up there, and I think I don't think he's in the room tonight, 5950, but he went up there the other day and sent me some pictures from Hanson's, and it's a great spot. It's a great spot, and they do vodkas and all sorts of different stuff, but their whiskey is outstanding. So there you go. Who else is around? Let's continue this conversation for a little bit longer. Joseph, in a way, if you don't trade Dre, you bring in another power presence. I think it could work. That's interesting. Look, to me, let's see who brought this up because I want to give him credit for this whole thing because I didn't come up with this, but I thought it was a great idea. And lots of times what I'll do is I'll steal the idea and then just run with it. But this time I won't steal the idea. I'll just run with it, but I will give you credit. You might have left. Oh, there you are. Too much said that Vucevic, whatever, like they're not done. What about going and getting Vucevic? And that's not a bad idea. He makes over $20 million and you wouldn't have to move any big pieces. I mean, I like GP2. That makes sense. I like Looney, don't get me wrong, but if you put those two together, their contracts, probably have to throw in another pick there and so forth. Then all of a sudden you get a stretch 5 and it's a lot of money and I get it. And Joe, you know what? You're already in, man. You can't back out now. So you might as well. And if you could get him and you're a stretch 5, now I might start looking at you as a team that could do something in the West. Because right now, even with Jimmy, I'll tell you this, teams at the top of the Western Conference that are young, who haven't had playoff success, Oklahoma City, Houston, Memphis, they're looking at this trade going, damn, I hope we don't get the Warriors. Now, could they win the championship with this current group? I don't think so. But I'd tell you this, if they don't play in the play-in, because I think that's a really big deal to tire this team out, and we've seen it. If they get the 6, let's say, and Oklahoma City's going to get the 1, Houston probably gets the 2. Let's say they get Memphis in the first round and then Denver's 4. If they get one of those younger teams, I wouldn't want to see Denver in the first round and Jokic. But I'm talking about one of those young teams. Oklahoma City's going to be 1, but Memphis, Houston are going to be 2 and 3. Get one of those young teams who haven't won anything, because they haven't experienced the success. And what happens is, we know this, if the Warriors go down by a game or something or lose a game at home, they're like, been there, done that. Even with the team that's clearly not as good as it's been in the past, even with Jimmy Butler, they look at it and they go, hey, we've been there. We can come back. We can win on the other team's court. They have that inner confidence. They talk about it all the time. But if you go in, and this is what happened, and I've told everybody that is a regular in the room and on the show, I was in Dallas. I was the program director of 103.3 FM ESPN in Dallas on the We Believe year. And when the Warriors when Don Nelson beat the Mavericks because he knew exactly what to do against them in game one. I had all these promotions and all these things of Mavericks. I literally called my voice guy that night and I said, hey, man, we've got to re-image the entire station because I had imaged it with the Mavericks, which was stupid to do in Texas, but I'd imaged it to do all Mavericks all the time. They had won 67 games. I was like, oh, man, these guys are going to be great. We're playing an 8 seed. We're going to roll this thing. And when the Warriors won game one that year, I called my voice guy and said, I need all football all the time again. The Mavericks are going to lose this series. They were young. They didn't know what to do. They got punched in the face in game one and went, They didn't know what to do. And so it's the same kind of thing. If the Warriors went into one of those arenas, went into Oklahoma City, went into Memphis, went into Houston, smacked them in the face in one game one, and had the intimidating factors of Jimmy Butler and Draymond and, Steph's dancing and they're going, oh my God, I've never been through this. What do we do? And look, those are really good teams. 𝐻𝐵𝐽𝐺-Alexander is no joke, but they win game one in one of those arenas and they're going to start shaking in their boots. I mean, that's just how it goes. And they could beat those teams. Now, can they beat Denver, teams like that? If they got to the finals, I'm getting way ahead of myself. But look, it's a nice move for Jimmy Butler because it's playoff Jimmy. And if you're just joining us, it's not going to be jerk Jimmy. He got the extension. That's the key to the whole thing. And I told you this for weeks. Jimmy's not going anywhere without the extension. He had the extension in Phoenix, didn't have the deal in place because Bradley Beal goes, I got full no trade. I'm not going anywhere. But then the Warriors 48 hours ago said, hey, man, we've got a trade worked out for you. Will you come here? And Jimmy goes, do we have an extension worked out too? And the Warriors went, well, no, we don't. And then he went, well, no, I'm not interested. And so then everybody, Shams and all this stuff through who? Agents, as I always tell you. The agent told Shams, yeah, man, he's just not interested and he's not interested to build leverage so that the Warriors would say, wait a minute, you didn't say you weren't interested. You just said you weren't interested because you didn't get an extension. And Jimmy said, exactly. And so the Warriors got backed into a corner because Kevin Durant said, I'm not going there. And exploring LeBron James wasn't going to happen. I went and wrote this whole piece at JohnLundUnleashed.com. Not that we didn't know this, but Zion Williamson's played in 198 of 410 possible games as the first overall pick in 2019. And he's the third heaviest player in the league. So unless he gets in shape, he's going to continue to miss games. So the Warriors went, no, thanks. He's 24. We could build around him potentially down the line. He could help us right now, but he's missed 54% of the games that he's played in. We just can't take that chance. And so Jimmy Butler's standing around going, and then the phone rings. Hey, what's going on? Oh, you reconsidered on the extension? Wow, that's a shocker. Because Joe Lacob was like, there's nowhere else we can go. Anyway, we told you that weeks ago that was the deal. Like, if he wasn't getting an extension, he wouldn't go anywhere. No, Jimmy wants to win a championship. No, Jimmy wants to get an extension at 35, and whoever offers it is where he'll go. And that's what happened. Let's see. We played the Jimmy music. By the way, I'm downloading this.
And a whole lot of people gonna wind up there. Anything goes at the end of the road. Ain't nobody about to slow me down. No.
That's what Jimmy Butler sent out. The Wild West. Wild West is what he sent out once he knew he was getting traded to the Warriors. I think that's cool. The guys have like social media and, nobody's interviewed Jimmy Butler. Nobody's asked Jimmy Butler. Nobody's talked to Jimmy Butler. And so like, I wonder what Jimmy Butler thinks. And he sends out a tweet that's like, Wild West, let's go, bro. And that's, the one thing, and you may hear this tomorrow and you may hear this as part of this. I'm sure that on the Talking Head shows tomorrow on ESPN, they'll do this. Well, is Jimmy Butler going to be a jerk? Is Jimmy Butler going to be nice? Is Jimmy Butler going to be the guy he was with the Heat? Is he going to, dude, they just gave him $121 million, and that's what he wanted. He wanted the extension more than the championship, more than the ride, but now that he's got the $121 million extension from the Warriors, which was the holdup the whole time, he's going to play his ass off. He's going to play hard. I mean, do I have some questions that when push comes to shove and things get a little bit nasty and he and Draymond are going, eye to eye, nose to nose, chin to chin, going, hey, bro, this is my team. No, bro, this is my team. No, I'm going to fire up the team. No, I'm going to fire up the team. No, I'm going to get a technical. No, I'm going to get a technical. Like they have similar personalities. So I don't know how that's going to work. But you know what tends to happen in this whole thing? Like guys hate each other and they love each other. Like Draymond and LeBron were not on great terms when Teabag was going on, but they're cool now. Steph wasn't on good terms with a lot of guys. And then all of a sudden they're like, respect, man, respect. LeBron and Steph are like buddies. That's why I thought maybe a deal would happen. Him and LeBron and Steph are buddies. So I thought maybe that would happen. But again, it's not. Sometimes the team's going, hey, I'm just not going to do it. So I don't know what the Butler relationship is with with Draymond. I know what it is with Butler because everybody loves Steph Curry. But, and I'm sure Draymond Green, I think he faked the whole season, but was like, I'm cool with Chris Paul. I'm cool with Chris Paul. He's probably cool with Jimmy Butler too. And they don't really have a history. It's not like Butler and the Warriors have gone head-to-head in the playoffs a bunch of times like they did with Paul. I mean, if you can get along with Chris Paul to the extent they did last year, even though, let's be honest, that was a disaster of a trade and they got nothing for him. But from a standpoint of guys getting along, they got along with Chris Paul fine. My throat's burning. Look, man, Jimmy is going to fight dirty, and that's not bad. I mean, I'm excited to see it because Jimmy's going to get going. They'll be fine by the time the playoffs roll around. Injuries are always an issue. Age is always an issue. There's no question. But Jimmy Butler should be fresh. He's played in 25 games this year. He's been sitting around probably at his house, at his pool, drinking a whatever, not shots of whiskey like we just did. But he's probably in pretty good shape. And missing 20 games this year is going to benefit the Warriors in the end because he's 35. And Steve, he's not going to play more than 30 minutes. So by the time the playoffs roll around, you got to hope that he's fresh. Let's see. What else do we got today? How's everybody doing, man? Everybody doing good? Everybody feeling good? And again, I'm going to reset this whole thing. Butler, the Warriors, we went through. Crazy day. KD turned him down at the beginning. Wiggins, part of the trade. Multi-team, good Jimmy, absolutely. All the people on the Talking Head shows are going to debate that tomorrow. He's going to be good Jimmy, there's no question. And I put 112, but it's 121 on the extension. Depth chart we went through, even though it was the wrong one. And the last two questions are for you. Golden State in the West, where are they? And is this the right move? Those are the big questions to you, the sweet, clean viewer today. This was the show today. This is what's funny about today. So let me go back through this like this. This is where it started. So this morning at 8 a.m., which we do Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on this show, John Lund Unleashed. And then on Saturdays, we do 10 a.m. So this morning, this was the show cover. Reunion? We thought maybe KD and Steph were going to have a reunion. Windy, everybody says it's windy. Brian Windhorst reported on ESPN this morning that there could be a KD Steph reunion. By mid-afternoon, he said, "Are you kidding me? I don't want to be on the Warriors. Get out of town." And I really think that Kevin Durant's reasons for not coming to Golden State or not wanting to come here has nothing to do with basketball, even though ironically he always says, I just want to play. I just want to hoop, man. I just want to hoop, man. But he's worried about it being Steph Curry's team or this guy's team or Draymond's team or the fans want whatever. Or, my legacy, if I win another championship, but it's with the Warriors, I want to win one on my own. I don't want to win a Warriors championship. He's just worried about too many things that aren't basketball related for a guy who says he just wants to hoop. So anyway, that was number 2 of the day. And then show number 3, tell him what he's won, Johnny. Door number 3 is Butler at Warriors. So from 8 a.m. this morning where it was like, is it going to be KD? KD says no. The Warriors get desperate. Jimmy Butler gets called again. And Jimmy said, look, 48 hours ago when I said no, it's because you guys said there was no extension on the table. I want an extension. Fine, Jimmy. Kevin said no. We don't want Zion who's playing 54% of the games. Can't get a LeBron deal done. Steph's going to ask for a trade in the offseason if he don't get something done. So there's Jimmy Butler. Hell of a Photoshop, by the way. Hell of a Photoshop. But and then so Jimmy's a warrior by the end of the day. What a nutty day it was. So that's what happened. And that was by show cover by show cover. If you're just joining us as well after the Warriors lost that I didn't cause, that's this season. Andrew Wiggins has played in 43 games. This is the primary player is Wiggins, but they had to make the salaries match. And while Wiggins makes about $28 million, Butler makes almost 50. And so you had to make that thing match. And so there's a bunch of players going, which I'll show you in a minute. But if you just go on this season, and this would be if you had a concern, this would maybe be it, is that you gave up Wiggins and you gave up other players, and Wiggins has been the better player generally this year. Now, rebounds, whatever, negligible. Assists, Jimmy's a better passer. Steals, whatever. A little bit better, a lot better field goal percentage because Jimmy's got some mid-range to his game. And Wiggins is either a three-point guy or a slasher. 3-point, about the same. Free throw, whatever, negligible. But my whole point is that this season, you're looking at yourself and going, wait a minute, Wiggins has been as good or better. Why would you make this move? But we know what has happened with Jimmy Butler in Miami, and he was upset and disgruntled and all those different things and playing childish games. But over the last 5 years, you start looking at it. So that's 300 games for Wiggins almost, at about 260 for Butler, and a lot of them have been missed this year. So he's not injury prone or anything. But Butler's the better player. And Jimmy, playoff Jimmy is a thing. Playoff Draymond is a thing. Steve Kerr is not going to overuse Jimmy Butler or any of these guys. They'll be ready for playoff basketball. And again, one more time, I'll pop this up for you, but just because it's crazy. So it's not like Miami wanted to get 5 players, but when Andrew Wiggins makes $28 million and Butler makes $50 million, I'm no math guy, and we don't do a whole lot of math on this show, but that's a big difference. And so you got to find other guys. So that protected 1 is a Warriors 1. So Wiggins, they lose Wiggins today, a protected 1. Lindy Waters, who ends up in Detroit. 𝐟𝐸𝐵, who briefly is going to be in Salt Lake City, but he's going to get moved. That's the worst team in the Western Conference, even though they beat the Warriors tonight. And it wasn't my fault. But Dennis Schroeder is going to briefly be in Utah, either going to get traded tomorrow or he's going to get bought out. And then there's Kyle Anderson. So they lost Anderson, 𝐟𝐸𝐵, Waters, Wiggins, and a protected 1 for Jimmy Butler in a complicated fashion where a bunch of guys get spread out all over the country. So what do you think of the deal? That's the deal. Wanted to reset that for you if you just joined us. Butler gets an extension. I said 112 on the screen. That's wrong. Shams Charania, who's very busy. I bet he doesn't sleep at all right now. I mean, you think he's probably got like, I don't know, maybe gets an hour here or there, but has like 5 alarms set and probably like 18 different phones. And they have all these different ringtones. Like if it's this GM, it's this ringtone. It's that GM, it's that ringtone. Probably. I mean, just a million. He's not sleeping. So Jimmy Butler, as I said, this was the deal. And I said this months ago. This wasn't going to be about Jimmy wanting to win a championship. This was Jimmy extension guy. He wanted the money. He's 35. So he gets $121 million. Without that, he's not a Warrior. That's what changed in the last 40 hours. People have been texting me and asking me, well, why did Jimmy Butler 48 hours ago say he didn't want to be a Warrior and wanted nothing to do with him? And now all of a sudden he's a Warrior. $121 million. That's why. They didn't offer him that 2 days ago. So there you go. Declining player option, $121 million. That's what he's going to get over the next 2 years. And by the way, I haven't popped this up. This is brand new for everybody who's been there the whole time. Look at this. This is what has happened in NBA trade season. What in the what? Look at that. Fox to the Spurs. I feel bad kind of for Chris Middleton. He the 8-41 Wiz. He won a championship with the Bucks. He's like, really? So I would feel kind of bad for that guy. There's Zach LaVine going from the Bulls to the Kings. There's our guy, Andrew Wiggins, in the Miami outfit. There's Kyle Kuzma going. He gets the positive side of that. Washington to the Bucks. There is a fine Photoshop of Anthony Davis going to the Mavs from the Lakers. Jimmy in the middle, and there's Luka's double sevens. So there you go. There's Luka. So that's just in the last couple of days. That's one of the most active, if not the most active trade deadline of players who are good players. Like you see junkie players or whatever. But I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's like 8 guys who can play, right? That's big. And the biggest impact to me, Luka's just massive and ridiculous. The Mavericks will be decent this year. Why does that keep popping out? The Spurs, that's a huge get for the Spurs. And we talk about the teams that are ahead of the Warriors in the pecking order in the West. Don't sleep on the Spurs being right behind them with Wembanyama. And I think they might make another move for a veteran tomorrow. There's a little bit of buzz about that going around the league. The Kings aren't better with LaVine, even though he's having a great year. Kuzma, I don't know. Kuzma from Middleton, that's negligible, but maybe a little bit better. And then there's Butler in the middle. So that's what's happened over the last couple of days. That is bananas. Throwing in Luka there as I'm looking at Luka, that's got to be the most talent that's been traded in like a 48-hour period. I'm not going to say in the history of the league because, everybody thinks that the league started like 5 years ago. Oh, this is the biggest trade ever. This is the most shocking trade for Luka ever. This is the most Like people forget that there was a league that started in the 40s. So, there's probably been more shocking, but in the era of social media, it's got to always be the biggest and the best because no one will click on it if it's not. So, let's just call it the biggest and the best because then people will click on it. So, it's been a couple of crazy days, hasn't it? For this stuff? Just bananas. Woo! Butler. All right. Again, let me ask you the last questions before we get out of here because I got a show to do tomorrow. I got lots of stuff. I guess I got a ton of work to do. And I still got to write an article tonight. I was dotting I's, crossing T's on an article. And then it was like, oh, Jimmy, the what? But now I get to hang out with you guys and drink whiskey, so I'm fine with it. Oh, my God. I don't know how this is taken into context. Hi, Mike. Would be a Sam Cassell guy. I saw Sam Cassell. I was covering the Utah Summer League in Salt Lake City one year, and Sam Cassell was a rookie. And he looked like E.T. I was like, who is that guy? Wild-looking guy. but great coach now and a solid player who's coming out of Florida State. Let's see. What else do we got? God, I know, right? Too much? You're 100% right. It's because they were trying to steal the spotlight from the Super Bowl. My son's at the Super Bowl, so tomorrow, make sure you tune in if you haven't been. He's been outstanding. And I'm going to pop this up at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube right after we get off the show. I cut this out, and he did about 20 minutes of walk and talk at Media Row in New Orleans. And if you don't know me, I've been to probably 15 of the last 16 Super Bowls, and I'm very jealous that he's there. And so the very one I'm not at, like the first time in like 15 years, I haven't been on Radio Row for a Super Bowl. My son's there. I'm like, really? That's weird. But anyway, he did a walk and talk today from Radio Row and was like flashing, hey, there's Fred Warner, there's Debo, there's Pat McAfee, there's this guy, there's that guy. It was hilarious. And so I'll have it right. I should have got it done earlier today, but I'll have it right after this show tonight, and put it up for you at John Lund Unleashed. You'll get it's funny. And I'm not just saying that because of my kid. It's pretty funny. I did jinx the Warriors. I have 100% taken not credit, but I said it's on me. I said it is absolutely on me. Yeah, see, I'm with you on that because you know what I do a lot of times is I look at something and I say, can we just not say it's the best and the craziest and the biggest and the this and the that? Because I want people to respect the fact that the league's not 5 years old or whatever the context of it that we're talking about. But I think I know the league pretty well, and that's probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, just in terms of pure talent. I mean, the Luka thing was like, that's got to be a hack. I mean, players are saying Tyrese Halliburton was like, Shum just got hacked. And it's like, we thought it was a hack on Saturday morning. And it wasn't. And it just got it. Not that it's gotten crazier because Luka's like that's the one. But my gosh, that is a pretty crazy one. I don't disagree with that. Kyle Anderson, all these people are like, Kyle Anderson. Never did anything for me. So that's not a big loss to me. I was not a fan of that. Hi, Enrique. KD not going back to the Warriors still will accommodate his premise to where he wants to go. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with KD. The Spurs, that's an interesting one. He's certainly not going to go to Miami. Again, here's what's tough in the league. It's not like this in baseball. You don't have to match salaries. You got to match $50 million for Kevin Durant. So even if you say to yourself, like with Butler, for example, if you say to yourself, Butler has lost all this leverage, he's being a jerk, they're not going to get anything for him. Well, he has a $50 million contract. So even if they did lose a ton of leverage, and they did, like originally, if you were going to trade for Jimmy Butler, he did the Warriors a favor by being an ass, or any team that was going to trade for him, because he lost the leverage. So all you were trying to do was match the contract, and you had to match, like I said, within 125% and $100,000 of the $50 million contract that Jimmy Butler has, not for the total, just for this year. So you had to come up close to the $50 million. And in order to do that, as I showed you with the trade, I've showed it to you a million times, so you don't need to see it again. But you had to trade 5 players. Now, Wiggins is the main one going to Miami and a protected number 1, but you had to spread a bunch of players all throughout the NBA in a 5-player deal because Miami's not taking 5 players. But you had to add all that up with Wiggins being the lead one at $28 million, and then you had to kind of piece it together like a puzzle, a financial puzzle, to make it work to make it work so that it would equal Jimmy Butler's contract. So even if again, you want to get rid of a guy, you don't like a guy, you want to get rid of Durant, you want to trade Durant, you want to rebuild if you're Matt Ishbia and who's the owner of the Phoenix Suns, and he wants to be aggressive and he's new and he wants to send a message to his fan base. Okay, it's not going to work with Kevin Durant, but look at these guys we got. Okay, well, if you're going to do it with San Antonio, for example, which makes sense, and I think that Durant would like to play for a guy like Greg Popovich, then a bunch of those young guys for San Antonio, that's all well and good. They don't make any money. So who are you going to throw in there that's going to make a boatload of money that you can get back and get those young players? It's a tough financial puzzle. And that's why, you got to give Joe Lacob a bunch of credit, because he threw in all those players, but nothing was getting done without the financial side of it, which is the extension. So these deals aren't easy in the NBA because you got to match salaries, and and I don't necessarily agree with that, because if let's say that I'm Phoenix right now and I've decided, man, KD, this is crazy because this never happens with KD. KD wants out. I mean, like KD wanted out of OKC and KD wanted out of Golden State and KD wanted out of Brooklyn. KD wants out. Shocking. So KD wants out of Phoenix now because he can't make it work there. And let's say he wants to go to San Antonio, but San Antonio's got a bunch of young players. they're nice, and San Antonio would like to probably consolidate a bunch of young players and equal to a veteran. And could you imagine if if the base for San Antonio was KD, Wembanyama, and De'Aaron Fox, and then whatever after that is whatever they have. But I mean, that's pretty good. But I don't know how they're going to financially make it work and equal $50 million and not just blow their whole thing apart, because they have a bunch of young players who aren't making any money. So it's tough. People talking about, a lot of people love Miles Turner more than Vooch for style of play, but I could be wrong. I'm happy with either. Miles Turner's good, and a lot of people have asked about him for a long time, and he's been in the league so long. Like, you look up, and I think, what is Miles Turner, like probably 27, 28? And you look up, and you're like, Jesus, the guy's been here for like 12 years. He's like been here forever, but I think he got drafted with like 17. So, yeah, lots of people have talked about Miles Turner. Indiana said they don't want to move him, but it all comes down to, what are you going to move back? They're not desperate to move him. I think Chicago might be desperate to move Vucevic just because it's like, we've had it. We're just going to totally hit a reset button on this whole thing like we always do. They did sign Lonzo Ball, I think, today to an extension. But, like, if they could get Vucevic, that'd be great. But, again, you and I talk about this all the time. If you're going to make a trade and discuss a trade, then you got to look at it from the other side, which is, okay, you're getting Vucevic. Woohoo! Everybody's excited. Who is Chicago getting that doesn't get their GM fired? Gary Payton, GP2? I mean, that's not going to do anything for your fan base. GP2, Kevon Looney, a number 1 pick. At least if I'm running the Chicago Bulls, it's like, okay, I'm relegated to the fact that I'm going to move Vucevic, and for salary purposes, I got to take GP2 and Kevon Looney, but I can't sell that to my fan base. I can't sell an innocuous first-round pick to my fan base. Cool, the Warriors, they're going to be picking in the 20. That's not doing it for me. What else you got? I mean, I at least have to get like a Moody or Podziemski. Podziemski went off tonight. But I've got to get a young player so that I can at least tell my fan base, hey, yeah, we got these salary filler guys, but look, we got a first-round pick, and we got this really nice young player. I can sell that somehow, some way to my fan base. But, and again, I say this all the time, and I mean to say it in terms of, you can do whatever you want. But reality, when you start talking about making trades and things like that, is you have to look at it from both sides. There's two sides to a story. So you look at it from your side and you go, oh my God, I love player X. I love Vucevic. I'd love to have him on the Warriors. Let's just throw a bunch of junk at the Bulls. They'll just take it. Well, it's not like the GM of the Bulls was born yesterday and he's like, whatever, I guess because they make the same amount of money combined that they're the same players. Vucevic is an all-star player. He's a nice player. So you're not going to just say GP2, Kevon Looney, and I don't know, 3 2s, and you're going to get the guy. Maybe that's going to happen, and I'm going to look stupid like when I said that they had the Jazz game wrapped up tonight. But the reality is if I'm the general manager of the Bulls, I got to get Moody, and I got to get at least a 1. And you just gave away a 1, so you're going to give away another 1, which, again, if you're all in, you're all in. And that's probably part of the problem of why people are upset with the Warriors is like, pick a friggin' side, man. Are you in or are you trying to build for the future? Pick a way. You can't do both, Joe. But I'm Joe Lacob, and I can do everything. Pick a side. Are you going to try to go all in? Or are you going to just be, kind of in the middle? Are you going to be young? No, he's made a decision with Jimmy Butler. They are going for it. So if you're going to go for it, really go for it. And I'm with you. Get Vucevic, give up what you got to give up. I mean, what you're going to be in the lottery with or without. I've said that a million times. Jonathan Kuminga is not keeping you out of the lottery. Not that they're going to trade him for Vucevic, but it's like, look, might as well go win. Moses Moody's or Podziemski are not keeping you out of the lottery in 5 years. What does it matter? You're going to be in there with or without those guys. So you might as well just go, no, I want to keep this guy. He's untradeable. Stop it. Okay. I believe I've done enough damage. We've gone 2 hours tonight on a emergency show. Usually emergency shows are like an hour. But we had a great time tonight. I hope you had a good time. I hope you felt better. I hope you took a little bit of a shot. I hope you had fun. Because I got to jump off here, and then I got to write a piece on this whole thing. And you guys made me drink. So I got to write a piece on this whole thing. I got to put another thing up. I got to put a story of the day up now, which I was done with, except for the fact that Warriors made a trade. Now I got to start over again. But, yeah, good time had by all. I really appreciate everybody hanging out. We had a good time. No, I have not. This is totally off kilter, but you know me, John Holmes. I'll just, I'll get my ADD to kick in. Have you seen Joe Lacob in a tight sweater? I have not. Send me a picture. I can imagine it, but I have not. I have not seen that. Todd, it is always great to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody for hanging out today. I had a couple of hours, and we did a great job, I think. in breaking all this down. And tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp, or 8:05, 8 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow, as we always are, Monday through Friday. We'll talk about this. And tomorrow is trade deadline day, although most of the damage has been done, as I just showed you that picture. There could be more. A Vucevic move could be made. I'll sleep on this a little bit more. We'll think about it a little bit more. I will post also George's, my son's video from Radio Row today that we had on the show, but I was going to put it out specifically. So if you haven't seen it yet, it is worth your time. And make sure that you're subscribing and liking and making sure the alerts are on so that when emergency shows like this happen, you are in the know on those kind of things. So that's John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Thank you so much for making the time. Ton of people watching tonight on X. Really appreciate it. That's at John Lund Radio. Instagram as well. We're live on Instagram tonight. I haven't even checked in on Instagram tonight. That's my bad. I'm having a rough night, man. Tons of people in the Instagram room. Very, very cool. Very nice. So very cool to see the people in Instagram tonight. Thank you so much. That's another way you can watch us, at John Lund Radio on Instagram. We do that. And again, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. on Saturdays for the show. And like we're doing right here, when news breaks. So make sure that you're subscribing. We got a podcast as well. You can make sure that you hit that YouTube show at John Lund or John Lund Unleashed, Spotify, Apple for the podcast, and JohnLundUnleashed.com, JohnLundUnleashed.com for everything Unleashed, including a piece that probably is irrelevant, some of it, because I speculated after Kevin Durant said no that there would be nothing happening tonight. So I wrote this whole piece based on that, but you should still check it out anyway. And then after I get off here, I'm going to write a new piece on Jimmy Butler being a member of the Warriors. So there you go. That is what's going on, and you're caught up on everything. We will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. around sharp, 8:05, something like that, right on this very bat channel and on X and Instagram. Have a wonderful night, and thank you so much. I know there's a lot of different places that you can go to get your news and the Jimmy Butler thoughts and all those kind of things, but I am honored that you hung out with us tonight on John Lund Unleashed. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye.